By Vanda Pharmaceuticals.
What's going on, everybody? John here with you. It's a Thursday, May 15th, 2025. How's everybody doing out there today? I'm going to get Alec Nava in here with me and we'll break down these lineups. First, for Rod Brind'Amour's squad, it's the Carolina Hurricanes: Sebastian, Andrei, Svechnikov, Seth, Jarvis, Jaccob, Slavin, Brent, Burns, Jack, Roslovic, Taylor Hall, Logan Stankoven, Dmitry, Orlov, and Jalen Chatfield. We'll get more on that in a moment. Jordan Staal, Jordan Martinook, William Carrier, Kasperi Kotkaniemi, Eric Robinson, Jackson Blake, with Shayne, Gostisbehere, and Sean Walker. I believe Jalen Chatfield is going to miss today's game with an injury. It'll be Alexei and Kochetkov making his debut, the 20-year-old defenseman for the Carolina Hurricanes. If that is the case, that will be very exciting. And for the Washington Capitals, head coached by Spencer Carbery, it sounds like this: Dylan Strome, Alex Ovechkin, Anthony Beauvillier with Rasmus Sandin, John Carlson, PLD, Alexei, Protas, Tom Olsen with Jacob Chikrin and Matt Roy, Connor McMichael, Andrew Mangiapane, Ryan Leonard, with Nick Dowd, Brandon Domain, and Taylor Radish. Alexander Alexiev will be in the back end D with TV Archer, Van Riemsdyk. Logan Thompson's going to get the start net tonight for the Caps. Freddie Andersen for the Canes. And Alec, admittedly, it's my first look at this series in between both teams, although I am familiar with the Hurricanes over the last several years. I think the same narratives apply to them. For the Washington Capitals, I did not expect them to be that good this season. Spencer Carbery, again, in his second year, has been a revelation. But this team just does not score when they're behind. When they get down, they struggle a little bit. That's what you know about the Caps. And the Carolina Hurricanes, honestly, in this series, have really taken it to them.
Hurricanes, they dictate the pace of play in this series. We know the whole story about them under Rod Brind'Amour. Aggressive forecheck, tight defense, excellent goaltending. The same narrative plays out once again in this series, and it's on full force on this young-ish Washington team. And they're just giving them nothing here in this series. They dominate the shot boards, and they're getting shots from anywhere around the ice. They like to fire at the net, Carolina. In Game 4, they started off a shot from the near boards and made its way towards the nets, and they make sure that they set bodies in front. We're not seeing a team that is as top-heavy as it was left in previous times around, nor are we seeing a team that went out for the big guns and going all in like last year. This is more of a balanced team, Carolina, this year. It's working out, and if it does work out the way it is, we could be seeing them in the Eastern Conference Finals for the third time in 7 years, second time in 3. But Freddie Andersen, Henrik Lundqvist described him during the NHL TNT broadcast one time, seeing him exhibit a trait a goalie needs to be successful. He said, quote, "The structure within his game is really good. I feel he reads the play really well. I think they work well together, the D-courts and Freddie, in terms of how they play the odd man rushes. There seems to be a good understanding of what they're looking to do," end quote. And I like that quote from King Henrik because it speaks well to what Carolina is doing in this series.
And you know what? Honestly, to double down on that, when you think about what we just saw yesterday in the mix of Toronto and Florida, Florida's got a lot of that similar structure, been able to attack on the forecheck, get some shots. Sergei Bobrovsky always says the same thing. He always sends niceties towards his defense. The same thing I'm sure Freddie Andersen's doing. Again, for me, it's just nice to see him healthy. And on the other side for Carolina, I know you covered Game 1 and that 2-1 win. And the OT side is Jaccob Slavin ended up getting it. But Carolina in that game had about 110 shot attempts. Washington, I believe, had maybe a little over 30. Not shots on goal, just shot attempts. The shots on goal were 33-14. And I was flabbergasted, honestly, that Washington was able to make it as far as they've been, considering they're more of a defensive style trap team that looks to counterattack at some point. I don't think that's ever going to work against the Carolina Hurricanes. I know Ovechkin found a way to get on the score sheet just the previous game, but Carolina still won 5-2. The last two at Lenovo now, because they changed it for PNC, were 4-0 and 5-2, and they were not particularly close.
Washington is firing 19.3 shots per game. The amount of shots per game that they've allowed in this series, 31.8.
Oh.
That's in this series alone. That's how much Carolina is imposing their will in this series, and Washington is just left with nothing. Alex Ovechkin, for as good as he's having a postseason at 39 years old, he's fighting for open ice, and he's leading the Caps in even strength shots, but it's not transitioning to the score sheet. That's how much much Carolina's putting him on a headlock and a half. This defense, no matter who it is, Jaccob, Slavin, Jalen, Chatfield, Dmitry, Orlov, his former teammate, by the way, Sean Walker even getting involved. Everyone on Carolina defensively is doing their job and shutting down this Washington attack that knows how to play from in front. But when it comes to tight games, Carolina has the experience.
Yeah, they do. And again, they've been through this. They've been through the ringer, even in the series. I know we don't like to talk about sometimes in between Carolina and Florida with all that heartbreak. It looked like they're going to be destined for each other again. Hell, we'll figure it out on the side for today whether or not Dallas is going to be able to punch their ticket as well. It looks like every other team, if I have to guess, other than Florida and Toronto, because we still got another game tomorrow, looks like everybody's going to be able to punch their ticket. We watched a little bit of that game in the interim after ours was over, and between Edmonton and Vegas. At least Vegas gave a heck of an effort, but Kasperi Kapanen ended up getting the game winner.
Second game this postseason for Kapanen, and he's an overtime hero again in his career. First time around he was one of the young guns on Toronto. This time he's a journeyman. What a thought.
Yeah, and we're going to figure this one out, but I'm going to have Alec close today, so I'm going to lead off here. Admittedly, hopefully I don't make too many name mistakes. That would be very unprofessional of me, but it's been a long time since I looked at both of these teams. I'm honestly surprised that PLD has been able to have the same type of effort that he's had. He's probably found a home, but I think the one thing that we can say, at least for Washington, Jacob Chychrun, they locked him up long term, and he really likes where he's at.
Yes, he does. 8 years at $72 million total.
So we'll get a chance to do this again at Capital One Arena. This might be the last time Washington's going to be here if Carolina has anything to say about it. As this is sending behind the end boards now and off the forecheck. As this will be an opportunity to get picked up for Seth Jarvis. Already a really good outlet pass. Svechnikov trying to play it at the line as this gets blocked out in front. Sebastian takes a hit alongside Chychrun. And now Washington able to escape the other way. Dubois will throw it in around the end boards. This is intercepted by Carolina. Sebastian off the cross pass. It's a bouncing puck. Has to be corralled in behind the net as Martinook ends up taking a hit. Here's a one-timer. Good save. Thompson rebound right out in front off the slap shot. And this will be an opportunity for Protas to spin it around. Carolina just can't hold the line. This will be sent back in. Now Logan Thompson will get an opportunity to stop it. And Ian is in here. He'll be listening in. He'll get his input at some point. But thinking about it for Logan Thompson, I've said a lot of this for Washington, that they're a good regular season team, but I just don't know what they're going to do in the postseason. But Carolina is one of those teams it's very difficult to deal with. Here's an opportunity that gets blocked toward the left side. Doesn't even hit Freddie Andersen. Spinning around for Will Carrier, the former Vegas Golden Knight. One of those guys that can actually carry the mail on the bottom six. It's been pretty good. And as Alec mentioned, all the way around, be able to get Stankoven back in the mix of the Mikko Rantanen deal, multiple first-round picks back. It didn't work out on that side for Rantanen, but you really feel like Carolina is an all-around deep team. They're going to take those picks. They draft well. Here's an opportunity. They couldn't get it to Ovechkin off of a diving shot block. Good work there for Carolina. Alexei in from the point. This one's intentionally wide, looking for a redirect as Brent Burns is off the chase. Alexei misses this one badly toward the left side red line. It's 18:05 left to go on the first. The score clock is frozen. So now it's starting to pick up here on the TNT side. That's where we are. 8-0 all-time, leading the series when up 3-1 is Carolina. So they're in good standing. As this is sending behind the end boards, Robinson will knock it down. And Logan Thompson will play this in behind his net. Start this again from right to left. That's what the Caps hope to do with Alexei that's got that mask. As he will send this around toward the right side. Usually off the end boards. It was a nice play there. But Carolina's already back around to stop it. It's Freddie Andersen make the play. Good reverse hit in behind the net now. There's an opportunity here for Nikishin to get it out. He can't do so. Here's a shot. Good left pad save. Andrew Mangiapane, former Flame, couldn't get to it. Robinson. Chychrun now will stop it. Connor McMichael. Again, he's been the Hershey Bears product for a long time, and that other part of the organization has been very good. 1-5 in elimination games with the Caps since 2019. As this is picked up across center ice, safely dumped in. Caps fans trying to get loud here. Sometimes in this first period, we see things be low event. Just a couple of games ago, we finally got something done in the first period as far as goal scoring, but there's been a lot of nothing. Here's an opportunity that's roofed out in front of the net, and Protas will stop it middle of the slot. Get this pass. We'll go ahead and chip it in. He tries to get off a 1-on-3. He will actually get to the puck first. PLD now racing in toward the middle of the slot. This is right at the right dot. Freddie Andersen gets a stick on it. An opportunity now for captaincy and Staal. Staal does some excellent work for Carolina. Throws this one in as Rasmus Sandin, former Leaf. We'll go ahead and pick it up. He has to loop around as the rest of the forwards here for Spencer Carbery's squad takes a change. And here's a play right in at the players' bench. Intercepted again here for the Canes. Opportunity now for Staal. As this gets collected, Chychrun now, and off the end around, Taylor Hall will finish off his hit. As this is sent back in behind the end boards, Jack Roslovic. Watch this one go all the way back down. As this Nikishin making his rookie debut on the D-line side. I think he's going to be on the second line today. As this is an opportunity now for Stankoven to look to the left wing side. This goes back to defense. He's on his breakout. This pass is awfully fumbled here. Ovechkin trying to get the steal, but Stankoven picks it up on the second effort. Opportunity now on the backhand. Sebastian slows up. His pass does not hit. Good intercept here for Dylan Strome, who's been so good in a Washington uniform. Hits are 5-0 Washington right now. Haven't had a single shot on goal just yet. It feels like I'm talking a lot. As this is toward the left side blue line. Sent back in now. Away from Aho's. Jarvis tries to throw a reverse hit. He gets knocked down. Couldn't take the capstan off the puck. It was centered out front. And Washington now finally able to break through. See if they can get a shot on goal. Short side chance misses way wide. It's picked up here for McMichael at the moment. This bounces off the point off some Washington bodies. Opportunity now for Sebastian Aho. It's a 1-on-3. All he can do is gain the red line. It has been pretty much a Venus flytrap between these two teams right now. Not a lot of space. I know Alec is used to this right now from where we are. Still no shots on goal. Good theft. Here's an opportunity. Onside. Played on the backhand. Out in front. Good save, Logan Thompson. It was the first of the game. This one bounces off the stick. That might have went off of Martinook as well. And off the step up, Washington steals. Here's Connor McMichael trying to take it right up the gut. He gets denied the space. Dmitry Orlov now on the back pass. I think we're going to get a penalty. This will be the first of the game. Carolina is going to go to the kill.
You've been on the mic for about 5 minutes and 30 seconds already. That's a lot of action. We have not seen a lot. As is once again, what we saw throughout the series, a low events end game to start things out, which is not surprised because Carolina is wearing out Washington defensively, but Washington loves to set the tone early. This was a common theme throughout the series that Washington sets the tone early throughout this series. And they have, once again, a chance to score the first goal like he did in the first 2 games of this series. And that's just Dmitry Orlov, the former Washington Capital, heading to the box.
That seemed like an awfully long reach for Dmitry Orlov. Did nothing more unfortunate than not, as he was kind of stuck the wrong way. Logan Thompson in 9 games, 5-4, 245, 918. Those are not bad numbers, but he has been outdueled by Freddie Andersen, who, as Alec mentioned, is a Conn Smythe consideration. He probably is the front runner at this point. Here's a race, and Logan Thompson's going to have to go all the way out to the left dot to meet it. Otherwise, that would have been a break the other way for Carolina. Washington now looking to start. Again, as we mentioned here for Washington, I know Carolina's got a just device alongside for Alec as far as who they want to win, and I get it. But for Washington, they've got to play out in front because when they don't, they just don't look good. I saw something in the regular season as far for Washington when they have to play from behind. I think they're just about 5-32, maybe 28 somewhere around the season. They lose a lot when they have to play from behind. So if Carolina draws first blood here, that could already set the scene for what we might think is going to happen. Ovechkin gets thefted by Seth Jarvis, who throws it out in between some stick blades. Sebastian Aho with a wrister. That one really stung Chychrun as he leads back down. Carolina beautiful on the penalty kill at 25-27. As this is excellent puck work here. Again, Washington on the power play, but Carolina is the one playing with the vulcanized rubber. There's this one sent him behind the end boards now for Logan Thompson, who looks to slow it down. Shot board reads just 1-0, but Carolina's had this puck more than the other team. Protas slow this one down now as this will be stopped by Freddie Andersen across the right side end boards, but this back pass does not get out. This is going to give Washington some puck possession. Jacob Chychrun not out there. Here's an opportunity for Ovechkin. His pass right in the middle of the slot. That one roofed wide by Ryan Leonard. How did he miss that one? as this is sent the other way. PLD looking for space. Ovechkin, right side dot. Here's a pass across. Good stop, Freddie Andersen, as he calls it off near the left dot. Opportunity for Carolina. They'll get it down. Washington gets their first chance. It was a good one. Ryan Leonard sailed his last. Ovechkin. Washington's power play expires. They got just one shot. All we have is one shot. 12:25 up to go on the first drummer with you, alongside Alec, Nava, and Ian Genji. As we take a look at this 3-1 series lead for Carolina, I do happen to think they're going to close it out today, but we'll see. Picked up now on the backhand. Good opportunity sent toward the net. That one goes wide. And a lot of screens in front of Freddie there. Here's a slap shot that misses it all. We know what Washington was going for. Big hit the other way. Roy cleans out his man. This is iced against Carolina.
Washington did have one look, but that was all that was to it, with Ryan Leonard missing it up high and wide. The other one being a tight shot, but outside that was Carolina showing what they do best on the penalty kill. Be aggressive, be opportunistic, and take any chances towards the puck. They got several seconds of zone time in the Washington zone while shorthanded, which speaks to an excellent job on Rod Brind'Amour's PK.
Absolutely, Alec. I was really impressed. I mean, they had the puck more than Washington did. Essentially, that's why they're held with just one shot, as they were profiling John Carlson. You can profile Dylan Strome. He has been a revelation since he signed with Washington. I happen to think, and I wish he would have signed with the Wings, considering he's not making a lot. We'll get a whistle at 11:55.
People love to talk about Connor McDavid and Jack Eichel among the top 2 picks in that 2015 draft, which is so star-studded. But people forget about pick number 3 of that draft, none other than Dylan Strome, who's been a revelation ever since he led into Washington, as you said. His rise to prominence didn't start in Washington, but it rather started in Chicago, where it all started, but then he's unlocked another gear at the nation's capital.
I don't want to be disingenuous to the Caps here, because I look at them and I know that they're a good team. And look at some of the names on the board, and we've seen some excellent perk-ups. I think Spencer Carbery is a wonderful coach. I think Washington is in good hands because, honestly, Alec, if we have to look at this, from what we expected, Washington should have been full key into the rebuild, but they've kind of moved some things on the fly and look good. But when I look at Carolina on the other side, and we've seen over the last several years, their systems and everything else are lock and key. They're strong across the board. You got a healthy Freddie Andersen now. Everything they seem to do just fits the system and makes sense. Carolina is always dangerous, and I just looked at this series in a vacuum, and I didn't think Washington had a chance.
Well, at the beginning, I had low expectations for Carolina heading into the series. I thought it was going to be the opposite way around, but turns out things are funnier than it looks at first glance when you look at hockey, because anything can happen here, and that is Carolina showcasing themselves that they are the more battle-tested team throughout all these years. Washington's retooling on the fly, and sometimes teams that are retooling on the fly can have some growing pains in the postseason. Not the case for Carolina when they made it as one of the wild card teams in 2019. They got some valuable experience, and it was only up from there.
I don't want to put you on the spot too much, but what do you really think of Spencer Carbery?
So far, he's turned the culture around here at Washington, D.C., that he's helped build around on this team on his strengths. And Chris Patrick, who helped with the roster construction, saw the positives from what was last year's surprise playoff appearance and built off of that. So they strengthened their roster even more with P.O.D., Andrew Mangiapane, Taylor Radish, you get Logan Thompson, hell, you get Ryan Leonard onto his entry-level deal, fresh off his back-to-back 30-goal season at Boston College.
That's the thing for me, because I agree with all your points, but I'm just so impressed with how they ran the Hershey Bears, and they've been so good to be able to bring guys in there from the systems and fit everything in. I know life is going to happen without Ovechkin at some point. Same thing for Sidney Crosby on the other end, but this looks to be a competitive team, but Carolina is that buzzsaw. They do have the 3-1 lead right now, and Carolina doesn't have to press. Even if they don't win today, I still think they win the series as this one gets gloved down, because they can play that game like Edmonton did yesterday. Defense, and then find a way to break through when it's really needed. That might be what we see today. We're going to see something completely different than what we saw yesterday. You can mark my words there. As Protas send this now toward the right side down, as this will be slowed down. Opportunity goes in off the backboards, and now Alexei will step up. He's pinched very deep as this one's knocked away. Alexei actually gets to loop all the way around as Van Riemsdyk lets one go. Easy stop for Freddie Andersen. Ovechkin on his back. And here's another slapper, another good save for Freddie. Didn't have to move at all near the right post. But Washington now starting to get some shots. Carolina will send this one down. We're almost halfway through the first. Shot board reads 3-1, but it is a breath of fresh air to see this game be 0-0 because the count that we just mentioned with the unfortunate events on the hockey side, that was pretty much over yesterday as soon as the puck dropped, as it's 10:30 left to go in the first. Brent Burns, we'll see if it's his last year in the NHL. I certainly hope not, because we're definitely going to miss Chewbacca. Picked up now for Staal. Roofs it, he scores! What a shot, Alec, near the top of the left crossbar, and the captaincy draws first blood for the Hurricanes.
The only forward on Carolina to not have a point finally gets on the board, and the 10th playoff game for the Hurricanes this postseason. And finally, the captaincy does have the weight of his shoulders right off of him. How did he find room on that far side of the net as he takes this puck brutally? We get that he's more of a defensive-minded center, but sometimes defensive-minded centers can find the offense right up to them. You don't count these guys out. He roofs this one past Logan Thompson, and by the time it goes and he tries to locate this, he was caught by surprise on the shot.
I agree with you completely because I was going to say the same thing. You can argue that Logan Thompson gave up all that space in the top right corner, but look at it from Staal's perspective. He's in a severe angle from the opposite dot. That's the only spot that he could shoot it from. And as you mentioned, Logan Thompson, I have to guess, he never thought that puck was going to go there. He got beat clean.
He did. It was clean. It was a perfect shot. And Thompson, you could say you want that one back, but he was just surprised by it.
Another opportunity. This one bounces off. We'll see if it gives Carolina some energy as the shot board is even 3-3, but that is a hellacious wrister from the captaincy and Staal. He's been at this for a long time. We remember him in the mix of Pittsburgh as well. He's been in Carolina for a long time, and he's got that playoff period going. That was a heck of a shot. 157 games, 72 points, 37 goals, 35 assists. He's got himself a nice little niche here as we get a whistle at 9:44.
And given the trade for Jordan Staal to come to Carolina, it was a fair deal, looking back at it now, between Jordan Staal and what became Brian Dumoulin out of that trade. Dumoulin was previously a Carolina draft pick, but he was integral to those Penguins years in which they won the Stanley Cup as their top defenseman next to Chris Letang.
I definitely agree with you. I think both teams made out pretty well there. That's what you want in those trades. Sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes they get one-sided, but not to be the case on that side. So let me give you the reset as far as the assists. If we got those, Jordan Martinook from Jordan Staal at 9:38. Right now the shot board is 3 apiece. The hits are 10-4 for the Caps. Faceoffs are 4-2 for the Canes. As again, we have just the one power play that Washington did not score on. They only had one shot. The late game, not too late, about 9:30 Eastern. It'll be Dallas and Winnipeg. And then we have just one on the NBA side that I'm sure Ian's going to be invested in after. While this one's going on, OKC and Denver. OKC looking to punch their ticket to the WCF.
And speaking of late games, last night it was a shame that either one of Aiden Hill or Stuart Skinner would be on the losing end of it. I'm proud of Stuart Skinner because after that Kings series, he needs to regain his confidence. I feel that there are certain opponents in which goaltenders will have trouble with. I think the Kings may be one of those. But after he got benched for Calvin Pickard, and with Pickard being out, him getting his confidence back and posting back-to-back shutouts has to feel good for him.
I have to say this too, Alec, because I think I might be a little bit wrong in my assessment, maybe not, but I don't necessarily associate hot and cold with goaltenders. You normally think about that at guys at the bat rack, offensive players in hockey. You can get on those streaks and have a run. But Stuart Skinner, sometimes he has propensity to have some bad games, but when he gets hot, and he certainly looks good, and Stuart Skinner has found himself a new lease on life again.
Once again, right after an up and down year, so it's pretty much a similar theme. Up and down year, struggles early in the postseason, bench, and then inserted back onto the action, and then he turns it on. Just like last year when the Oilers made the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah, and I have to think, as we get to that one game, we're waiting for the opponent. It probably looks like it's going to be Dallas, but you'd have to think Skinner's going to have that spot up until he loses it, because Pickard's going to be able to get his health back at this point. But right now, I think Chris Knobloch's got to run with Stuart Skinner. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree with him. And Chris Knobloch is going to put his full trust in Stuart Skinner. And not to mention the defense is in front of him is turning it on at the right time. Minor lighter change was they put Troy Center points and Ty Everson. But the way this defense is playing, I'm impressed.
Yeah, and again, if they start to look like any sort of the Oilers of last year, Dallas Stars and you and me, we're going to have a very entertaining series. I know we'll be working some of those games together. Here's a shot from the point. I can't wait for that one in the WCF. If it's going to be Florida and Carolina again, we know that that one's going to be good, but I think the Western Conference Final is going to be a little more spicy just because of that Finnish Mafia and the Oilers. Because McDavid wants to right his wrongs. If you saw him in the previous side of it, as Mangiapane now, I'll stop myself for a moment. We'll send this around the inboards. But McDavid looked like he was none too bothered about getting that win. He just wants to be able to lift the Stanley Cup and nothing more. As this is sent back and around the inboards. This will be stopped back at the point and lifted out. Again, it's the first goal from Staal, assisted by Martinook. It's PLD. Slow this one again. Carolina's 4-0 when scoring first, and if you believe that, you can already write the book on this game. Definitely a good team as Alexei throw this in around the end boards. Carolina now will stop it. At the point, this opportunity near the left side wall, as this is too far. PLD was not able to get to that puck as Carolina already stepped in the middle of the slot and went the other way. This would be an opportunity for Staal, who just scored. He gets pinned against the boards. Now toward the right side wall. This is picked off by Carolina. Here's the slap shot toward the net. Be an opportunity to be sent back around. PLD will look as this gets stopped by Logan Thompson. Opportunity for Alexei. Now for PLD. Take a long flip. This will be gloved down out of the air nicely. This stays on side for Domain. This is sent back in behind the inboards now, but Svech trying to get this out of his own end now. This is picked off beautifully by Sebastian, who read that pass right in the middle of the circles. Get this one back now off the return from Jarvis. Here's the opportunity. Svechnikov try to race for the puck. And now Washington will use the flip, try to chip this off the glass. Carolina is right there. Get this one across the caps load. A little windmill move. Try to escape some pressure here for finish hit. Gostisbehere takes a hit to make a play. Again, he'd spent some time with Carolina in the mix of Detroit. Now back on this side. This is picked up now for Matt Roy, former LA King. Now for Ovi in his own end. 7:10 left to go in the first. It's been fast moving. They've actually taken a shot away from the Caps. Just 3-2 here in the first. And that's exactly what these two teams can do. They can lock down. But it's more important now that Washington try to press at some point, maybe in the middle of the second period, find some offense. Because as Alex said, the shot disparity in this series has been stark. Here's a bounce right out in front. Jack Roslovic. This one intentionally wide in the corner. He's sent back and around the inboards now. Roslovic, this does not go back to him. As Washington trying to escape out of their own end. There's opportunity off Carlson's pass. This is picked off again by Carolina, right up the gut. Here's a drop. Roslovic gets shoved in the corner. Sent back around now for Carlson off his touch pass as the Caps want to go right to left. This is a little bit too far there for Mangiapane. Bounces out in front, and look what I found for the Washington Capitals. That was a nothing burger of a play, but it goes right in off a fortuitous bounce. This game's tied.
Oh, Anthony Beauvillier, what a gorgeous goal. I don't know how that ended up, but it might have gone between his legs. He was elevated to the top line to play next to Alex Ovechkin and Dylan Strome once again. It was Ryan Leonard who took the ice this time around, and on the chase down as Carolina was trying to swat away, Beauvillier picks up the loose puck from the side to net. Freddie Andersen, he wants to have this one back for him. He tried to play it away, but it ended up on Beauvillier's skates. And he picks it up, puts it 5-hole on Andersen.
So as Slavin, as you mentioned, Alec, was trying to do the work against Beauvillier. His pass bounces off the side of the mesh toward the right side, picks it up right in front for Beauvillier. It's the most fortuitous bounce you could get. And then he just backhands it through the legs of Freddie Andersen. And that is a fortunate break for Washington. They're certainly going to take it. But Anthony Beauvillier, the former Islander, finds himself on the score sheet as this game's tied at 1. This is now Protas. Not at the line. This is a break for Carolina's going to pick up on the defensive side. I almost got ahead of myself. This is sent the other way now. Onside. Here's Robinson looking for a snipe. This one goes up and out of play at 540.
Did you guys see that collision over at center ice? Tom Wilson's trying to allege his case to the officials. He thought that there should be a Washington power play by now, right after Beauvillier sweating across the 5-hole on Andersen. But there looked to be a collision at center ice. That could have easily gone one way or another.
Yes, it could have. And for Tom Wilson, again, you got to ride that line as well. Again, one of his main accounts is the famous crying face that he made against the Montreal Canadiens. That were probably one of my favorite pictures all the way through this NHL season. But again, they get the goal from Beauvillier, makes it 1-1. It's been an interesting first period, and Alec can say the same thing. It's probably been marginally low event, but that's the way it's been in this series. But fortuitous bounce for Beauvillier, he scores unassisted.
And that's been the description of this series. Low events, and with both defenses feeling each other out. We don't know how this is going to go, but we can expect minimal goals here. At Capital One Arena, there's been 7 goals in this series. You add the 2 goals here, that now makes it 9. While PNC Arena, Carolina outscored Washington 9-2. So Carolina has as many goals at Lenovo Center than both teams have total goals at Capital One Arena now.
Yeah, the Hurricanes, I know you mentioned this, and over the last few years, I've been able to test it, because I used to cover the Canes a lot over the last 3 years. It's slowed down quite a bit, but because you kind of know what the team's all about, so I kind of just monitor toward the playoff side. But Carolina is one of the very best teams on NHL home ice. Alec, they've been that way under the entire Rod Brind'Amour era, more or less.
Yeah, they have. And the question now becomes if this can lead to a Stanley Cup. We know the goal for Carolina, and they know the mission is, despite not receiving the media attention that they do nowadays, and despite having lesser expectations, they know it's cup or bust for them every year.
Yeah, it is. And again, really, there is no shame, because sometimes you go up against the one team that I wouldn't necessarily say has your number, because every single time the Panthers and the Canes played each other, those games were tight. They were debilitating. They were backbreaking, depending on the side of the fandom that you're on. But they were really entertaining to watch. And it's all about getting past that point, because if the Canes do find a way to get to the Stanley Cup final, I'm not going to count them out against somebody like Dallas or even the Oilers, because the system and everything else that they play. It could be really interesting, honestly, if they play the Oilers, because if the Oilers continue to play the defense that they are, Canes and Oilers could be a fun defensive matchup here that I don't think a lot of people would even expect to happen, but it definitely could. Shot board is 4-4, 5-10 left to go in the first. This pass gets deflected away from Svechnikov. Wilson slows it up at the line. Open ice cross pass. Ovechkin's got to fire this, and this one goes wide, back in behind the inboards. Normally see Alex Ovechkin miss a wrist shot, as it's 4-3 on the score shot chances, but 4-4 on the board. It's a 1-1 game, as it was Beauvillier with the latest in the mix for Carolina. Again, let me give you that reset there for Jordan Staal. Martinook, as this gets iced against the Caps.
Well, as I saw one of the Canes go down, and you entertained the thought of Carolina going to the Stanley Cup final, of course, you wouldn't count out this team if they face up against the likes of Dallas or Edmonton, even for those two Western Conference teams potentially being favorites to win the Stanley Cup against Carolina. Carolina knows that they love be playing as the underdog label. And if they are the underdogs, they'll come out hungrier.
I would say, again, I know it's probably unfair, because Florida ended up winning that series against Carolina, and their system of forecheck is excellent, but Florida has more superstars. That's just the way it is. Carolina doesn't have as many of those. It's not disparaging to Carolina, but their system players, I would say, whether it's Carolina or not, they're the best system team in the NHL. Rod Brind'Amour gets the most out of his team every year. It's about finding all the other fits that work, and they just seemingly get the job done every year. They're always consistent. Carolina, Burns. This will be slowed up from the right point into Logan Thompson's glove.
So hear me out. What if we entertained the thought of a 2006 finals rematch, Carolina and Edmonton?
I definitely see that one as being very interesting. Like you said, with Edmonton, they've been playing better defensive late. If they play that same system against Carolina, we could have some chess matches.
Yes, between Rod Brind'Amour and Chris Nava. We don't know how the final result is going to go, But it's an interesting one. Alex Ovechkin has scored in Game 4, 8-3 when he scores in the postseason, 7-11 and that's not the case. That's when facing elimination.
Yeah, that really says it all. You could say the same thing alongside the core four. You know, if they're not having success, if Ovechkin's not having success, Washington's probably still not stirring the drink as much as they would like. 11 shots on goal, 1 goal, 12 hits. Nothing wrong with the hits, but he's just not been able to find the back of the net. But Carolina, that will take a lot of keys to them. This puck is just jammed to the left side red line. It's moving enough so we can't blow the play just yet, but this looks like a mosh pit over there. Martinook now trying to look with Dow to see if he can find it first. He does get post positioning. Pick this one up now near the right side wall. Gostisbehere takes a hit. Good back pick there for Rasmus Sandin. It was legal. It will stay on his feet. Didn't intentionally trip anybody with the stick. As this is sent back in behind the inboards. Washington really trying to fight for this near the players' bench. And now since everybody's there, everybody might just take wholesale changes. 3:20 left to go in the first. Sent back in now for Kotkaniemi. He gets a rough ride near the right side boards. Washington just trying to get this out of their own end. They can't do so. This kind of looks like mosquitoes near a light right now. Nobody wants to give up this puck. This is sent the other way. Opportunity now to the left side red line. Just fighting for space. That was 100 feet that had to be earned. Dylan Strome off the cross pass. Here's the drop. McMichael shoots. This one gets blocked off the Carolina defense. Again, Shopper just 4-3. Goaltenders have seen a tremendous defensive effort in behind them. Washington wanted the icing. They're not going to get it. Trevor Van Riemsdyk off the spin. He needs some help. He had to pirouette 2 times as Jackson Blake wouldn't leave him alone. This is now sent back in behind the inboards. Picked up now off the back skate for Blake. This gets picked off in behind Van Riemsdyk. And Washington will have to start in their own end. 2:20 left to go on the first. Wilson trying to get it out. Carolina throws it back down. Staal was able to clear. Now it's back at center ice again for Washington. No space to be had for either squad. Again, no surprise as we sit in this Game 5. It's been that way throughout the whole series. Protas, the shot gets fought off by the stick handle of Freddie Andersen. And now Carolina attempting to break out on a 3-on-3. Here's a right against the right side boards. Chychrun with the rub out. This is sent back in line off the backhand. Start again now for Protas. He's got a ton of goals in that regular season for Washington. We want to try to get him on the board. Chychrun hit the bar with the left side post. He had Andersen beat, but he rang the pipe. This goes the other way now for Roslovic. Jarvis, 5-hole save for Logan Thompson, as that was pretty easy. 90 seconds left to go on the first. Jacob Chychrun off the drop pass hit the bar toward the bottom left side of the pipe. PLD. I'll set this back here for the defense. Get a chance to start again. Scoring chances are just 5-3. You can take that for what you will in favor of the Birds. Now sent the other way as this is intercepted now. Here's a lift for Carolina. They were partially offside. They had to check back up Taylor Hall. And they'll get a nice extension here for Carolina. He's liked where he's played, and he's definitely going to be a good bottom sixer for the rest of his career, that's for sure. 55 seconds left to go in the first. Opportunity now for Kotkaniemi to get this one out for Staal, who's got one. Staal work his way on his forehand. Now tries to loop him behind. He gets boxed out a little bit by Roy and Sandin. This is off the tie-up. And now we'll see what happens toward the right side red line. Loose out in front for Hall. Oh my goodness, what a save for Logan Thompson. That was a wide open net. And that one is not converted off the rebound. This is now 25 seconds left to go in the first. And now I finally had to hit the voice register. Logan Thompson absolutely saves a goal. Down to 15 seconds. Back and across the red line. Now sent back in off the clear. Carolina holds it in. Intentionally wide off the backboards down to 5 seconds. We'll see if Carolina can get a shot off. Rolling puck was played by Thompson. That is going to end the first period, but we had some madness in front of the net.
I don't know how that was not in the net. But Logan Thompson perhaps made the save of the game as Carolina turned it on by the end of the first period. The offensive attack that we've known in the first few games that I was there is Logan Stankovic. Oh my goodness. Right on the stick of Logan Thompson. He reached back, went onto the goal mouth, right onto the crease as he had a wide open net. just slid it right by him and just touched the stick, and it changed the angle right after Chychrun hit the goalpost on his last great chance. Oh, wow.
Incredible. You had Chychrun on the other side, hit the post, and as you mentioned, the first save, Logan Thompson able to rob Taylor Hall in off the backhand, but for him to come all the way over, Stankovich's got a wide open net, somehow gets a piece of the stick plate on it to keep this game tied at 1. Look, it took a little while for the train to get moving here between these two teams, Alec, but that was a frantic end of the first period. That was a pretty good 20 minutes.
It was. Low event, but it was mostly defensive, which is what I like to see from this series. It's an underrated type of game in which both teams wear each other out. And this style, unlike what the media pundits say, it's not a boring style game because it's a necessary style game
Yes.
if you want to go deep into the playoffs. Defense matters.
Absolutely, Alec. I'll double down on that because you're right. You don't get into the playoffs, first of all, if you don't play the way Carolina has done. That's why they've always consistently been able to do damage in the Metro. If it wasn't for the miracle season that Washington had, and make no mistake about it, Carolina would have been first by a long shot. Alec, we've been able to say this for the last 4 or 5 years. It is a pretty much push and a guarantee that Carolina is going to be at the top of the Metro. These type of games that Carolina plays, as you mentioned, is conducive to winning games and getting to the playoffs.
It is. It leads you to success in the playoffs. And you're playing, and you're preparing yourself not just for the months of October to March, but you're suiting things up for April and May. That's the main priority. I get Toronto want to do that, but if you're doing it the way that Carolina has done for the longest time, you're going to be set up for success.
Yeah.
So, gentlemen, I think, telling you this is a hot take. Despite the fact that Washington may lose in the second round in 5, I would go as far as to say that they may be one of the earlier exits in the second round, but they are not but out of the 2 semifinal matchups in the Eastern Conference between 2 potential losing teams, they are the better team and the least pathetic of the team, despite the fact Toronto has won 2. I know it's more salt on the wound for Toronto, but yesterday, I can't get past how bad that was.
It's really go ahead.
The fact that Washington is playing the way they're playing, I said, John, you were telling me all year you thought the Cavs were frauds, and in a way, they're pink tigers. I told you in return that Toronto was my pick. It's looking like Washington has more credibility than the Leafs.
I'll say this for Washington. I think they're more, and you could say the same thing for Toronto in your rebuttal. I think it's more the system that Spencer Carbery employs and the discipline for the counterattack, defensive style, try to play with the lead, manage the puck a heck of a lot better. Their system is conducive, and I think that they're a better coach team. I'm not saying anything to Craig Berube because he just got there. I just think with the core 4, when you throw them out there, they want a hot dog it sometimes like an all-star game. You know, they did lose a couple games in the shootout this year to the San Jose Sharks. And when you're playing some of that same way in the postseason, again, as we just mentioned alongside with Alec, that's a good way to get knocked out pretty quickly if you're Toronto.
Yeah, that's the quickest way to get knocked out if you're Toronto. I get Ottawa gave them a scare and Toronto was able to put them away. But if you're Toronto, I know for a fact that Austin Matthews said that this team needs a hard look in the mirror. Chris Tanev said that he needs to be better, but he's the last person I'm throwing under the bus.
Absolutely.
In any situation. William Nylander is showing his efforts. John Tavares may also show his efforts. Joseph Woll is showing his efforts. But there's no play in which I'm throwing Nylander or Tanev under the bus. And by extension, I'm not throwing Craig Berube under the bus for this either. when you look at the way that he reacted in some of those plays, it was like, what are we doing as a team?
Yeah, that's the type of game. Again, we won't hit everything on it, but we do have to still talk about it because I don't think any of us can get that out of our mind, especially the fans and all that. You still don't even understand what we just watched. But that's the type of game that makes mountains move. And what I mean by that, regardless, I think of what happens with the Leafs. Maybe unless they win the cup, I don't see that happening because they have to go into the Panthers' den tomorrow and try to win in Sunrise. Good luck with all of that. But the way that they lost. That's what makes organizational, foundational changes, Alec. You can't lose like that and keep everything the same.
No. And I feel no matter what happens, no matter if they end up winning the cup or not, I think regardless of what happens, I think this is the final year that we see Mitch Marner as a Leaf. It doesn't matter if they win the cup or not. Mitch Marner, I think, will leave after this year, no matter if Toronto wins the cup. But organizational changes should be made if you have a loss like this. If Toronto somehow pulls it out tomorrow, only to suffer more Game 7 heartbreak, I think we may be having that same discussion. If they survive this series and then potentially face Carolina in the Eastern Conference Finals, you may breathe easy for now, but I don't think you're going to have it any easier.
I would say this: even if Toronto makes it past, Carolina is just going to wear them down and smoke them because the way that they lapse in defense to the Panthers. I mean, the way Rod Brind'Amour, we reiterated over and over again how he coaches this team, what his team is, the method is. The Carolina Hurricanes, if they were to go up against Leafs, I mean, pretty much they would smoke them because I don't see Carolina's defensive backline collapsing to the point where they allow 4 or 5 goals a game.
Never.
That seems to be the only way Toronto can win.
Yeah, force them to a low-scoring game.
Let me ask you this, Alec, because I agree with Ian's point. Carolina, the best thing I can say about them is they're the team that forces you to pay attention all the time for 60 minutes or plus. I don't think I've ever asked the question this way for Toronto, but I think that we should at least open it to all of us in this panel. So we're going to make some changes in Toronto. That's a given. So we could talk about Matthews, Marner, Nylander, Tavares, correct? We always think about the core 4. And we mentioned some of that stuff doesn't work out. Well, I'm wondering it this way. If you take Marner, let's say you throw him in Calgary, or he goes to another spot because he did just have kids alongside in Toronto. Maybe he doesn't want to move too much. My thought process is this. If you separate them at least enough, maybe it's not on all of them. Maybe there's some individually good players there. Maybe Mitch Marner can win a Stanley Cup. I just think it's clear that they can't all do it together.
It feels that way. So, what if Marner leaves so as to free up the cap space to fill out the rest of the roster and team needs, so as to have Toronto take them over the top? I pointed this out yesterday about what this creates another Bryce Harper leaving the national situation, or if you want a more recent example, Kylian Mbappe leaving PSG to go to Real Madrid, so as to freeze up the space necessary for PSG to go to Champions League final. What if we explore that scenario again and put it right in front of the Toronto Maple Leafs?
I think that's probably what you have to do because I don't want, at least for those 4, to get the reputation that preceded them in that last game because I think that's fundamentally unfair. Yes, they have to wear the collar because they're the ones on the team playing together and suffered that result. But individually, I think those players can achieve the heights that they want to. That's just my opinion. That might be me guessing at this point. I just don't think each of them individually could lose that badly when you have team and structure. I just think they play together too much. They try to play too much offensive style, and that's the only thing that they've known because they've done that for 7-8 years. It just doesn't work.
Yeah. So say if Marner leaves, you would have to fill up the bottom 6, all right. You keep the key pieces around. You keep Knives. But here's a suggestion that I have. Elevate Nick Robertson to Matthews' line once Marner leaves and keep Tavares with Nylander. Does that work?
He's probably due the opportunity, Alec. I mean, he was the only one that scored in the game previous. So I think Nick Robertson has spent too much time and alongside with the Marlies. He's probably due his shot by now.
He is.
So I've actually got another question. What is Toronto's defense like? Because you don't just allow 6 goals and say that you can run it back with what you have for defense. Because that was terrible. I'd like to know because Morgan Riley is one of their defensemen, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So Morgan Riley's one of them.
Chris Tanev is another.
So you have Morgan Riley, Chris Tanev. I mean, how old is Morgan Riley? Because it seems like he's been around the same time as Matthews. Matthews was 16. I think Riley was 2 years before him.
Isn't Riley is one of those as the original core?
Yeah, he was part of that original core. How far back do you go with Riley? He was teammates with Phil Kessel.
Right.
Okay, so for a defenseman, he's older?
Yeah, he is older. He is 31 years old.
31, okay. I think, I just thought of this because Craig Berube, when he won with the Blues, the defensive core was experienced, but it also had a feeling of youth to it.
Vince Dunn.
Wait, what?
You mentioned youth, and the first thing that came to mind was Vince Dunn.
Exactly, Vince Dunn. Here's what I'm thinking. He just got signed to an extension not too long ago, but he's still relatively young. Call Buffalo and see what the price would be for Owen Powers.
All I will say, Ian, to that is good luck, because I don't think he's going anywhere. But at the same time, to your point, because we talked about Buffalo before, they just don't seem to find anything that works.
No, and to be honest, I think if Buffalo can't figure something out, they're gonna be forced to trade somebody. I think Power, if they have another bad season, it will be Power on the chopping block because he's one of their younger assets. Unless he just has a dead fish of his season. Up to that point.
Let me throw an alternative to you, Ian, here really quickly, because I don't think it's going to be Power. And Alec, you can chime in on this too. What about Bowen Byram?
Bowen Byram is another candidate. He is an RFA, though, and that could be one of Buffalo's priorities to re-sign. But if we're looking at opera sheet candidates, if Buffalo manages to trade away Byram, then the Leafs could jump right to him and get him signed. Another candidate, people can point to the Rangers and look at Keandre Miller, but I don't think the Rangers move on from Miller.
I don't even know if you go with that because Miller, at least if you believe the New York media, Miller is not someone that's going to be able to live up to what you hope he is, unless it's simply because a Laviolette system just isn't what he would thrive in. But I don't remember hearing glowing remarks about Keandre Miller last season.
It's a shame if you're a fan of the Blue Shirts there, because you think about it 3-4 years ago, Alec, in the mix of Jacob Trouba, Ryan Lindgren, and Keandre Miller, and that side of that line, especially with Trouba and Miller, they just couldn't miss. You thought Miller was going to be the next guy.
Yeah. You remember he scored a buzzer beater against the Dallas Stars to tie it up and to set up a winner for the Rangers, 2-1 for Adam Fox in overtime. And Miller was fun to be part of that future core. And now, I don't know what has become of him. But we'll have to wait and see if the Rangers will keep him so that he can get a shot under Mike Sullivan.
It might be a good call out by you, Ian, to mention that too, because when I think about it, between the COVID lottery balls, yeah, you still got Alexei Lafreniere, but No more in the mix of Capo Caco, Filipino, that kid line. 4 or 5 years ago, again, I'm thinking about, man, I've been talking with Cooper Hopkins. This team's got a lot of promise. You got Igor Shesterkin. You think it was going to be time for them. That did not work out. And now they got to try to figure out how to do all that on the fly. I don't envy them.
No, and the fact that there's also the fact that are they still stuck with the jury, the guy that's pretty much alienated the entire locker room up to this point?
Yeah, Chris Jury. Yeah, Chris Jury. I don't think is going anywhere.
Okay, listen, James Dolan, we need you to do the opposite of what you've done with the Knicks. You need to start getting more hands-on. Not too much, but when we say hands-on, we mean get Chris Drury out of.
So who's in a better situation, the Islanders or the Rangers?
I would say I gotta be honest. I mean, you got the number 1 overall pick. You weren't that far off from a playoff berth. It's got to be the Islanders who are in the better position.
I don't know if that's saying much, but because the Islanders, they were up and down, but they need more. But goal scoring has not been a strength for them. However, we need to see a full year of Matt Barzal and Bo Horvat together to truly get a gauge. Plus, you get Matthew Schaefer in the mix. Pair him next to Noah Dobson immediately. That's going to get, I don't know what results it's going to get, but I feel it's going to be a boom for you.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit, Alec, as far as the previous intermissions. I think that's going to create some excitement. Again, I got a chance to watch Schaefer a little bit in the World Juniors for Canada. I thought he was very, very good and already capable to play on an NHL team right away. I imagine he's going to, at worst, I would think, be a top 5 pick, probably even better than that. You got Misa in the mix of it as well. You mentioned James Higgins. I agree with you. It's probably going to take him a little bit. Cole Eisman is another one of those guys who could absolutely snipe the puck maybe in the middle rounds. We'll see what they want to do. I don't follow the NHL draft all that closely, and I don't claim to be an expert, so take it for a grain of salt because Alec's the encyclopedia, but there's a lot of prospects in here that are ready to go.
Yeah, actually, when we get to the next intermission, I'd like to ask you guys something about that. But currently the second period's going to start soon. I think it's Alec who's taking this.
Yep.
He's going to take the second, and he's going to close it. I'll take the first half of the third. So I hope Alec has a great call. I hope you don't get stuck with all the bombs that were dropped on you yesterday as far as the goals. But I think this one's going to remain tight.
Yeah, we expect it to be tight. And for the middle 20s, we're getting a look outside Abraham Lincoln Memorial at Washington, D.C. All the history behind D.C. You got the Washington Monument, Jefferson Memorial, and all the museums around that city. It's a nice city to explore history. And Alexander Nikishin has been having himself an eventful first game in the NHL. Got himself into the physical action and was able to find some clappers right on Logan Thompson and even keep some pucks in the zone. So it's been an eventful first period for Nikishin.
It's always nice, Phil, to get your first NHL game be a playoff one.
Always. Memphis Nikishin or earlier in the postseason, Steve William if you're the Minnesota Wild. Second period is underway. I am Alec Nava alongside John Ott and Ian Genji. Here's a spin onto that far corners. Washington's trying to get the go-ahead goal. They can't get it. Nikishin was shot ahead and a giveaway in 4.2 of ice time as Andersen makes another save. Van Roy on the hold to the near corner side. Carolina pressing all over this puck. Chekra moves down inside. Chekra spins around, elevates one. And that one missed it. Slavin able to get this one out. He's been a very repeatable defensive defenseman, the very best in the league for quite some time. Dumped in from center ice by Chikrin, and all the way back is Brent Burns who got taken away. And that was right in front, but Aho had it, but no, it ended up at the low slot, and Andersen had to cover.
Holy cow, what a spin cycle for Jaccob Chikrin. He inside out Seth Jarvis, throws it toward Wilson, and Freddie Andersen just able to get a piece of the left arm on it.
That's the type of spin move you expect from guys like McDavid and McKinnon all the time.
That was an excellent move. It's just nice to see him healthy and playing some of his best hockey.
Yeah, no matter where he's at, on the top pairing next to John Carlson, a second pairing next to Matt Roy. He's thrived here in this Washington D-core. Orlov tied up by his former teammate Ovechkin right behind the near corner. That allows Dylan Strome to pick it up, moved across to Beauvillier. Beauvillier pinned along the backboards as Carolina is having some trouble getting this one away, and they will with Sean Walker, who was moved up next to Orlov. Washington keeps it inside, and this will be to the mesh.
So as we look at the upcoming board again, about 9:45 on TNT, Eastern will be Stars and Jets. Stars looking to close that out. Everything else as far as Saturday's TBD if we get to that point, but it'll be Cats and Leafs about 8:15 tomorrow.
But the Jaccob, that game will end up going to having a series going to 7 games. But Toronto, they need to put last game behind, and I know they didn't say take a long look in the mirror as Freddie Andersen covers up right up a quick face-up was so clean that it reached him.
Yes, it was. Now Jordan Staal going to have to try to do the same. He's already got one. He'll be opposed against Dylan Strome.
Two great face-off men. Staal, one of the best defensive setters in the league from his era, and Dylan Strome, one of the best face-off men in the league, one of the best offensive playmakers. Strome wins it. Carlson slaps one, and it's wide. Collected by Sandin. This makes his way to Freddie, and he eats it up.
Left point, right point all day. Rasmus Sandin off the second effort will now force another face-off here as he let that one go. I almost looked for a partial deflection in front of the Canes. Ovechkin was trying to get on the doorstep.
But the defensemen are getting into the action right now. It's Rasmus Sandin. He got the last shot, and Alex Ovechkin, he wanted to deflect it. He has just one goal this series. That was game 4 of the 5-on-3. Carolina finally gets it out. And on the chase down as Howding, Sandin was William Carrier, as Staal goes after as well. Up the bar half boards, and Stankovic gets tied up. Washington once again, lead up. They had the first 3 shots of this period. They tied it up of a goal from Anthony Beauvillier, 5-hole. All the way back in the near corner is Brent Burns. We don't know if this is his final year in the NHL, but that's not going to be the case for Taylor Hall. He signed a 3-year extension here in Carolina, a natural fit in Carolina. Hall tried to center it. Washington's defense was all over it. A spin around by Pierre-Luc Dubois. The near side boards. Leonard centers it up. Up through the middle is McMichael. McMichael parked in the far corner. Runs out of time as he delivers it across the corners. And Carolina wants to take this one up. It's Matt Roy with a deep shot. Water wide is recollected at the far corner. But it caps. Cycled around behind it as this comes out in front. Centering pass. And by anything, Roy plants one and scores! Matt Roy gets Washington up by 1.
Well, he got Freddie Andersen moving after all that puck across for Ryan Leonard to be able to carry the mail in the mix of Roger Mangiapane. And when Freddie Andersen got caught near the right post, he was watching a little bit as this worked in behind the net. Ryan Leonard had it stopped out in front and went wide to the left side boards. And Freddie was just caught swimming a little bit as Roy just lifted it over the shoulder. And now the Caps have a 2-1 lead. Actually might have grazed off his glove, Alec.
Might have. Outside that, Freddie Andersen has been outstanding here. Went off his glove. He tried to get all of that one, but he just got a tip of it. And Alexander Vacation, who tried to clear that puck out, just erroneously turned over the puck. Sometimes it's those rookie jitters that happen in the postseason. And Rod Brind'Amour is looking for something on the video at the iPad. Well, actually, it's going to be a timeout here for the Canes.
And I wonder, Alex, sometimes we see these timeouts, if that gives them an extended brevity to look at the iPad and maybe challenge for something.
Sometimes this happens, but it all started with a giveaway from the Cation. But sometimes when you're a rookie, you have a leash right in front of you. So you still have that leash, and you're a promising prospect coming out of the KHL. I feel that Carolina's looking at an offside on Washington.
Connor McMichael, I think, is offsides. This goal might be overturned.
That's why they took that timeout, so as to look at this play. So they were reviewing it for a potential challenge. Rod Brind'Amour did take some time on that.
Alec, he did so very quickly. I mean, Carolina, for him to immediately take a timeout, he was looking across the iPad with everyone else on the coaching staff. They were fairly certain of what they seen. I think if they're going to actually get this goal probably is going to get rescinded.
Yeah, they are. This is not a challenge for Carolina, but it's a review. So, and because Carolina took that timeout, I don't think they'll get it back.
Here we go. You can go ahead and give us the call.
So here's
That was a pretty good work there for, again, Rod Brind'Amour. Did you mention across the review? But that timeout was immediate. They knew what they saw there. This one's back to square at 1-1. It was still good work for Washington off that forecheck. They're going to need to do more of that against Carolina.
Solid effort, but at the same time, even for the puck crazy off of Freddie's glove, if you're a rookie, this is the learning experience that you have in the playoffs. That you cannot cough the puck up at your own zone because that's going to lead to scoring chances for the other team. Even if that goal doesn't count, Nication has to learn from this moment. And here it is through the middle. Washington picks it back up. They've been the more opportunistic team in the second period. This puck goes all the way back down where it's Orlov recollecting it. Orlov backhands one through at the far half boards, but immediately turns it over. As it's held inside by Beauvillier, Orlov lost his stick. He gets it back. Up the middle now. Moving up, it is Jackson Blake. Blake drops this one up at the right point. Pokes it back for Jacob Slavin. As Burns out there on the ice. Slavin's shot. That was deflected wide, and Strome gets this one out. Burns will collect it in his own zone. Banks it out to the near side boards. And this will be collected by Thompson behind the cage. Roy will start up and will spin around on the pass to Alexei. And this is going to be iced against Washington.
So about 3 minutes expired exactly in the second. The shot board is 8-7. That goal from Matt Roy was just taken off the board as we still sit at 1-1. Crowd boos because they don't like the icing, but all of a sudden now, Alec, this game is starting to percolate again. We knew we were going to be in for a good contest. It looks like we're going to get it all the way through.
So if Vegas Edmonton was basically Inter Barca, this series is essentially Arsenal PSG in the Champions League to get a comparison. I know the Champions League final is half a month from now, but I just wanted to give a fair share of soccer comparisons. Burns keeps it inside off the attempted clear. Pinching down low at Svechnikov as Aho puts the press. Washington takes it up for the far side of the ice along the benches. Aho keeps it inside. On the rush now, it is Slavin. Slavin from the far corner. We'll get this back up to the right point. Now it's Burns a one-timer, and that was forced out by Thompson. Washington recollects it, and they'll move it up the near side. Alexei Protas off the near side walls. Wilson baseball backs this to the far corner, and it's kept behind for Burns as the Canes will move this one out through center. Bluffed down by Svechnikov, but could not get a stick onto the puck, and the Caps have played this with a high stick.
That's going to blow the play dead as we get a camera shot of Ovechkin. He's got to be wondering what it's going to take for him to get back on the score sheet. He's only got one in this series. In fact, it's been a few games in. We finally got some action in the first period between both of these. Most points when facing elimination among actives. Ovechkin's on the same board with Kreider and McDavid. He's got 24. Only Patrick Kane with 25 has more.
And we speak of Connor McDavid, who's still going right now. Alex Ovechkin with 24 points when facing elimination. He is clutch in these situations. But in elimination scenarios, you would normally trust one of these guys all time. And that goes to young McDavid. And McDavid, young for his standards on this list, given that he is just 28 years old. Andersen, and I thought if he didn't cover this one, I don't know.
That was a very quick whistle that they allowed him to get the cover. Honestly, Alec, he probably covered that for about 0.25 seconds.
And that easily could have been a Washington takeaway, but I'm surprised they let this one stop as we see the memorabilia of the great Chase, 897 career goals, as it's won by Carolina out the face-off. Walker, this is a dangle, stopped by Thompson on the long shot, and the Caps will get this one out. Gloved down by Walker. Walker spun around. The Caps can't handle this one as it was too far off the outstretched stick. White out through center ice to Aho. Made his way back to Seth Jarvis as he takes it back inside. Jarvis, redirection, then make his way inside. A quicker one that was off of Thompson and out. Onto center, Orlov fires this over to the far corner. This is bouncing off of Rasmus Sandin. Staal is there. Spun on to Will Carrier. Carrier tried to get this back onto the point, and the Capitals played this one out onto the benches.
Yeah, and as they did in the previous sequence there for Jordan Staal, you get that look for Carolina who loves to shoot it from anywhere. He just unloads, and off the left board, it's a direct slapper out in front of Logan Thompson. But thankful for the Caps, they're able to get that out of the zone quickly.
Yeah, that was a quick one for Washington because if that was not clear, you anticipate Carolina continuing to pinch, and for their penchant of firing anything and everything at the net. It doesn't matter how much distance. You want, ideally, a body position right in front. And that's where someone like Svechnikov or Jarvis can step in. Tie up here, Staal gets pounded by Tom Wilson, and this will be cleared down. And this one played off the head. Not going to matter as Wilson has the last touch. Wilson chopped away by the case and is kept alive because of the Caps getting this one to the puck off the hand pass, and it's icy because it was dumped it off the red line.
I know you made some soccer comparisons alongside this hockey cast, but I think it's been apropos, Alec, because it looks like you're just trying to bat this puck or the ball and across the field, be able to gain some space, look for these long flips from about 50 or 70 feet, but right now, in between the Canes and Caps, they're not having it.
Yeah, no. Feels like both teams are wearing each other down. It's what's usually seen in soccer matches, as they would usually wear each other down. Lloyd Bent as Van Riemsdyk fires this one wide. Trevor Van Riemsdyk part of the 2019 series, except he was on the other side with Carolina. Orlov was in Washington at that year. One of the Canes goes down, and it will be backhanded out by indication of some attempted keep-ins by Chikrin. Washington moves it back up. They're at their own blue line as Carolina pitches. They're still waiting for the breakout as Pierre-Luc Dubois off the near side. Glides right by. Here's Dubois. Closing it. Dubois! And there is going to be a penalty as Dubois was tripped up on the scoring chance.
Well, you talk about Nikishin a couple times. Nikishin is the one that got his body and off the trip. He's going to go to the box. Easy call.
And you sometimes expect that Nikishin, he has those hiccups here in the second period. One time on the attempted clear in which he made an accidental giveaway. This time he trips up his man as he was trying to swipe away the puck. And usually this is a learning experience as Dubois, he does the smart thing and plays this one off just in time. And before Nikishin can swipe away it, I feel like Dubois would have been tripped up regardless as he was trying to swipe away. And Nikishin, he went down with so much momentum that he couldn't do anything else.
Yeah, and that's because, as you said, Dubois able to beat everybody across the right side boards and create his chance. Again, they like to play Ovechkin just outside the slot to set up the 1T. Look out for that.
They love to, Washington loves to double shift him on the power play too, so that's another thing worth watching. He plays on both units. As this faceoff is a tie-up, it'll go all the way back to the left point. Fired around for the end boards to the far corner. Ovechkin position at the right point. He finds it. He's located and going down deep onto the near half boards. Carolina loving to be aggressive here on the PK. So far, Washington has the early edges. Wilson plays it for Strome. Strome head front, and that one fired wide off the block. For the far boards, the Caps keep this one down low. They have just one shot on goal on the previous power plays. Wilson, he was anticipating Ovechkin at the right point. He was not there, and so the Caps will have to reset. They are setting things back up. Two defensemen on the top power play group, those being Chikrin and John Carlson, but they have since gone to 4 forwards and 1 defenseman, that being Chikrin. Wilson, and that might be another one as it's going all the way back for Chikrin. Ovechkin, 94 on the shot. Andersen got back to it. We stayed 5-on-4 as Carolina touches up on this one. They want to get this one out. Fans furious. They thought that there was another trip here. John, that could have easily been 5-on-3.
Absolutely. Bodies are falling like bowling pins right now as Carolina is just trying to get this puck out of the zone desperately.
The rookie Ryan Leonard got this one back inside. Another rookie finds this one down. It's just kept in. And Leonard, whistle here, is playing with a high stick.
Yeah, that was fortuitous there for Carolina because honestly, there was some chances their bodies were falling down all over the place. Maybe they felt like on the Zebra side of it, they didn't want to give the Canes 2 penalties in a row, but that was awfully lucky there because it looked like a trip of the body.
And Jacob's been a workhorse so far in this game. He's being profiled not only with the half spin, but he's been blocking shots, and he's been doing the Warriors' work. Here is Carolina off the face-off, and they bank this off the far boards, take this one inside the Washington zone. You know how dangerous this Carolina PK can be. Up the far side, the Capitals counter. Ovechkin on the entry. That looked like an offside. And for the far corner, Protas will hold it over to the left point for Carlson. Ovechkin overskates the puck, just holds it inside. And Caps is trying to keep this one for dear life as they want this up in front. And this was swiped away by the Canes. 5 seconds left on the power play, but that should just about do it. As Ovechkin still held without a shot attempt as Ovechkin plays a 94-mile-an-hour shot. Here's a 90-mile-an-hour shot that was stopped by Andersen.
Right at the start of the power play, you had the one-timer near the left side dot. You got to give a shout-out to Jaccob Slavin, as we often have to do. If not for his shot block there, Freddie Andersen would not have been able to get to that left post, and Washington would have had the lead. Honestly, they could have been up by 2 if not for the offside. But Carolina, it didn't look great trying to get that done, but it does. They don't ask you how to do it. They just ask you to get it done, Alec. They killed the penalty, and we go to break.
They don't ask you how many. They ask you how you do it. It's quality over quantity.
Yeah, that's just any means necessary. And I'll agree with you on the side for Nikishin. Look, I'm not going to punch buttons too much in his first game because if he's in the lineup, that just means Jalen Chatfield is probably too hurt to go. And my guess is if Carolina ends up winning this quickly, they're going to give a little bit more ice baths there to Jalen Chatfield to make sure that he's ready to go for first game, which was likely against Dallas. Again, we'll know after our broadcast is done. I'll definitely be watching after doing the write-up. But for Nikishin to draw in the lineup, it's good for him. But Jalen Chatfield really must not have been able to go today.
And it's a bummer for him because Chatfield, we know about him not being able to go because of the injury designation. But it stings for him because today's his birthday.
Ooh, that's a double whammy. But the best thing you can do then is to go ahead and get a win for the Kings.
Yeah, best thing possible for Carolina, get a win, not only to advance your team, but to dedicate this to Chatfield. He just turned 29 today, and he's been an integral part of this Carolina defense. So good that they are keeping him as a key piece to this core.
Yeah, it really has been. You're absolutely right. Because again, for Chatfield, you don't really think of him as much in between the bottom 4, maybe the portion and the mix of the 6. But he's really found a home in Carolina's system. He's done quite well, no matter where he's paired.
Yeah, whether it be Dmitry, Orlov, or Shayne Gostisbehere and the first go-round for Chatfield here in Carolina full-time. Even as it looks at the 2022 season with Carolina, he's meshed well into Rod Brind'Amour's squad. You're reminded that he started out with the Vancouver Canucks organization in the AHL. Didn't really get a shot there, but now that he's in Carolina, he's made the most out of his time. And now that Nikishin is slotting in his absence, this is next man up. And Nikishin, a promising prospect out of the KHL, we're yet to see what he is made of it. Since Dmitry Orlov's a free agent, Sandin gets denied by Andersen. Since Orlov's going to be a free agent after this year, we don't know what the future is going to look like for Orlov and the Canes later down. As this is Jack Roslovic who's tied up behind it, that allows Nick Dow to pick it up. The fourth line doing the work here for the Caps here right now. Down low. Is it set up? Pass across! And this was swept away. Outside by Roy. Puck shot. Walked in front. Roy will just hold it inside the right point. No! He didn't hold this one inside because it was forced out. And now the Canes will fire this one down. For the near side is Taylor Hall. Gets denied, but the Canes will fire this one from the distance and send this one to the far corner. Roy, pressured by Logan Stankoven, and here are the Canes working over the right circle. Some chops at the puck, and the Caps will get this one down the distance. The Canes will be able to pick this one up and slip it away for the approaching Cap that is Brandon Dubois. Up the middle is Jesperi Kotkaniemi. Kotkaniemi drops this one out on the right side, but that's poked away from Jackson Blake. Robinson tried to get it back, walking up the middle, and it's Trevor Van Riemsdyk. Van Riemsdyk, and one, the Canes get spun around. That was Brent Burns.
Yeah, you mentioned it alongside Carolina's defense here with Brent Burns or Dmitry Orlov. And Anthony Beauvillier is going to be going to the box. Looks like a Canes power play.
Yep, as we mentioned, Burns got spun around by Beauvillier. That was the penalty on the way. So Carolina, who's been electric on the power play, at one point they were tied for the most power play goals in the postseason with the Dallas Stars, which is impressive considering that Carolina had one of the worst power plays in the regular season. Same could be said for the Kings, so they were red hot against the Oilers in that first round.
Yeah, they were, and I can't even look on the other side for Beauvillier against Burns. I'm not sure where he was trying to put the stick, but he couldn't get away from the right side skate of Burns. Easy call.
An easy call there. It's going to be 2 minutes, I believe, for interference, if I'm not mistaken.
That's definitely what we got. We'll see what the Canes can do with the man advantage.
Aho against Staal to the right of Thompson. As it is dropped here is Seth Jarvis who walks along. Set up for Svechnikov. He got tied up. He holds here along the point, walking along. It is Seth Jarvis who drops one off. Back down low to the far corner for Aho, who gets spun. Aho keeps this one inside for the Gostisbehere. all the way back for Jarvis who walks the point. And the cycle continues onwards. Gostisbehere will feed us off to the left circle for Jarvis and then back. Jarvis holds Gostisbehere. One-timer. Got one up by Thompson. That's a spot that Otto scored to end the Devils season.
And for Ghost, for me, getting a good chance to watch him a lot on the Red Wings side. He's a power play specialist today. He does play some good defense, but he's not afraid to launch those clappers as he just did. Carolina's got 1:30 left to go at the man advantage.
Gostisbehere is not afraid to take those clappers from anywhere on the ice. He's got a powerful shot, no matter where he's at. Whether it be Detroit, Philadelphia, Carolina, or what used to be the Arizona Coyotes, now known as the Utah Hockey Club. As this top power play group gets back onto the ice, you'd imagine that Carolina is hungry to get on the board here. This would be Seth Jarvis to take the draw against Dick Dowd off the tie-up. It is Carolina win this one as Gostisbehere. Broken stick is on the ice. Back around it comes to Jarvis, who has fended up and down the distance. Washington gets this one all the way down, and that's a sigh of relief because there was a broken stick on the ice for one of the Caps. Gostisbehere will reset. In due time, he'll drop it off. In the first round, they were 6 of 19 in this series for 11. So they've been doing their due diligence here on the man advantage against the Capitals. All the way back out for Svechnikov. On to the point, it is Gostisbehere who gets it up on time to an open Jarvis. Jarvis looks at the far side. Will cycle this one around to the near corner. Back over to Gostisbehere, just kept this onside. Poke free by the Caps. Gostisbehere has to reach in to prevent a short-handed chance. But the Caps are holding the Carolina zone. Fended up onto the far half boards. Carolina does get it back at the halfway mark of this second period. Drop right behind. And it's Otto leading the way. Near side. Otto looks in Jarvis' direction. And it's Gostisbehere manning the left point. Jarvis spun and turned to the near half boards. Jarvis gets fended out by what I believe is still Strome and is cleared out. Gostisbehere has to rush all the way back to retrieve this from Freddie Andersen. And Gostisbehere will start up. Will drop it again. 10 seconds left on the man advantage. The second line's back out there anticipating that we'll return to 5-on-5 sometime soon. At the far corner, Washington racing for it. Power play is over. All the way back for Brent Burns, left point. Fired it around for the end boards. Kochetkov rushing out to the puck. And the Caps get this one out. Will be recollected by Burns and his own zone. The referee had to jump out the way of that puck. Up the near side, Trevor Van Riemsdyk fights up his man. And the Caps enter back in with numbers. Dubois. Too far for him as it was tipped away by the Canes. Up the far side, Beauvillier rushing to the puck. Andersen has it and plays it out for his teammate. To the far side, Kochetkov grabs it up. Rod Brind'Amour made the adjustment to switch Jack Roslovic and Jesperi Kochetkov. Foot race for the puck is grabbed down by Logan Stankoven. Stankoven tried to get it back to the right point. Nobody there. And it'll be fired back inside under the lane offside. Washington will restart their own zone. 8:35 to go here in the second period. Carolina, Washington deadlocked at 1. Alec, Nava, John, and Genty here with you on the call. It is Sean Walker from his own end. He has to fight off 2 Capitals and up the blue line. Moving for the far side of the ice is Carrier. William Carrier to the net. Right behind. Wrapper attempt. Thompson fought it up. At the near corner. Martinook hit this side. Made his way to Thompson where he hugged the right post.
Yes, he will. We'll go to break here with 8:16 left to go. As you mentioned, 1-1. Still the same way that we've been from the first. The Matt Roy goal was offsides, so it's 9:38 Jordan Staal in the first from Martinook, and Anthony Beauvillier off of a fortuitous bounce, able to get a chance toward the left side of the mesh and then score between the legs of Freddie Andersen. He got his second postseason at 13:41. That's still where we are. Shopboard reads 11-7 for the Canes. Hits are 25-18. Canes is trying to put a little bit more. But the face-off circle, it's been a big disparity there to start with the puck. Carolina killing the Caps in that right now. It's 20-8.
This feels like absolute domination at the face-off, Don. So much so that you can think back to some other times in which you see one team get dominated on the face-off, Don. And face-offs usually play an integral role to a game because that dictates the pace defensively, and Carolina is doing just that.
Yeah, it does. And then again, as you mentioned with the start of the puck possession, if Carolina loves to feed shots and from the point and everything else as much as they do, well, then that really ends up tying things together because when you get an ozone draw, that just leaves it up to everyone else to bomb clappers from the point.
And I know it's a string of chess matches here, but if we do end up getting Florida and Carolina here, this is one of the chess matches that we'll witness between Rod Brind'Amour and the guy that used to coach him, Paul
Yeah, that's always fun to talk about. I know I always hear that in the broadcast as well. I have great respect for both of those teams, so I just hope it's going to be a long series. And I will say, for your sake, Alec, I hope that the Carolina Hurricanes find some good fortune if they do indeed meet again.
Hopefully with less 4 overtime heartbreaks.
I know. I called that game in alongside with Kachuk, and I didn't even really have a voice left. It was like almost 7 periods of work.
And I was over in Italy when that happened, visiting the Colosseo
Yes.
Romano.
I remember seeing some of those pictures. Again, it's good to be able to join back up with you guys to do a game, and this feels like a breath of fresh air to watch something competitive.
Yes, it is a breath of fresh air and a change of pace from whatever we saw between Florida and Toronto last night. It's good to see competitive hockey, like what we saw in Vegas and Edmonton. Quick shot, that one bounced off a stick, and up at the far corner, Washington trying to clear. This one trickled right off a Hurricane, and it'll be grabbed up by Walker on his back as he feeds it to Jarvis. Seth Jarvis sets up front, onto the far side, or Walker, who skates his back inside. Walker shot bounced off Thompson's pad. Svechnikov keeps it inside. Chikrin overskated for a moment. Svechnikov rushes up to him. For the near corner as Jarvis wanted to hold it inside. Orlov got dispossessed. Svechnikov helps him out. Nobody in the far corner except Chikrin. Puck loose at the right point, grabbed by Washington. And as Matt Roy said he needs up, he had to go ahead and go for a moment. It was disallowed. Backhander, stopped by Andersen. And here it is, up through the right side, or rather left side. Your Carolina. As it's whipped by Jarvis onto the far corner, Sandin, the former Toronto Maple Leaf, tried to pry this one free, and it's right behind the cage. It's collected by the cage. Jaccob Slavin. And this one could not be deflected. Hold one. The cage goes down. Held inside by Brent. Burns at the right point. Thompson to stop. No rebound. Up the far half boards. Washington does get it out and will be collected up by Burns again. Slavin restarts one more time. Fight around the end boards. And the cage will pressure here at the far corner. Held inside by Burns. Burns fires. Stopped by Thompson. And collected up by the Caps here. Potential 2-on-1 break if they hurry up. Ryan Leonard. Curling drag. Stopped by Freddie. Looking for his first career playoff goal was the rookie Leonard.
And you know what, Alec? I'll say it as plain as day because you see him from the real World Juniors and Team USA, and Ryan Leonard looked pretty good. I like for a fact for young players, you mentioned no hesitation on taking that shot. You're not going to get much better off the rush. Got to let that one go. Good work by him.
I have to correct myself because it was blocked by Slavin, but Leonard did a good job going on the rush on the partial 2-on-1 with Slavin meeting him. Where the rookie meets the vet, usually that's what's going to happen. But good look there for Leonard to build that confidence. I know he has the empty net goal, which is only goal of his career. That was in the Chicago game as Washington finds throwing around off the faceoff. Martinook, third line of Carolina, has the only goal. 5 blocks for Jaccob Slavin in this game. Carolina trying to set up, but can't. Will be collected by John Carlson. Up the near corner as the Caps will bump this one down through the far side. Fight around the end boards, and it will be collected at the near half boards by Mangiapane. Tried to set him up for McMichael. Can't do it. Jordan Staal was the game's first goal. Is this going to be an icing? No. It'll be Alexei who gets shoved away, and he has to readjust his mouth guard because of that head towards Harrison up high. On the near side, Orlov playing away from Mangiapane. On the backhand, this will be held by Carolina. Now Washington at the neutral zone, all the way back to their own D-ice. Alexei holds up. Checked up onto the air. Gloved down by Ovechkin. Ovechkin kicked out by Freddie. And fired around for the far half boards. Held inside by Alexei, who was tied up on the far side. Intercepted by the Canes. They'll move this one down the far side D-ice. Racing after the puck. It is what I believe is Carrier. Carrier protects it on his backhand, trying to feed towards the point. Bounced up onto the near corner. As the Canes are holding. This is Kotkaniemi. Dispossessed by Alexei. Bound to the far corner to Strome. Washington trying to reset here. Van Riemsdyk had trouble. And he'll fire it down the distance for Beauvillier. Beauvillier sets up for Strome. And for the far side is fired around by the Caps. Onto the near corner as the Canes clear it out. Recollected center ice by Roy. Matt Roy slows up and delivers it across the ice. Gets it back to him. 5 minutes to go here in the second frame. And here's Carolina who got the hold of it on the attempted deep end, and we have a whistle.
Yes, we do. We're going to be taking another break. 4:54 after you showed that shot block and talk about between Slavin and Leonard. We'll go right to break. But you know what? I mentioned this again a little bit in the first from my play-by-play side, and I'll be taking part of the third, and Alex is going to get set to close it. But this feels like an absolute war. And what I mean by that, when you look on both sides, both teams have the equal amount of troops to be able to win this thing, but you got to fight for positioning if you want to win the war. And I don't know how they're going to do it in between these two, like we said, with the long dump-ins and everything else, trying to get chases. But the Hurricanes and Caps not giving up anything, this truly does feel like a playoff game. And sometimes when you think about some of these other offenses, you might get mistaken, say these guys aren't serious, maybe they can't win Stanley Cups. But when you see systems work so beautifully between these two, sometimes this is what you see.
Yeah, that's the beauty of Rod Brind'Amour style of hockey. And you can say the same thing for well-established systems of hockey that other coaches instill, like what Paul Maurice has done with Florida in between his time there, Carolina, Winnipeg, wherever he's been around. He's that good of a coach.
Yeah, you stop plays before they even get started. You get guys in the right positioning. It almost kind of feels robotic in a way. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, but that's how it has to be. You got to be able to anticipate, just like if you're a fielder in baseball. If you don't have the positioning there, if you don't know where the shift's going to be, probably going to give up an extra 90 feet. Can't afford to do that there. And if you end up giving up a play, Alec, where maybe the puck gets past you, sometimes that's enough to already put in the back of your net.
Yeah. It's just one bounce that is all it takes to get up front. And we speak of systems. Bruce Cassidy, Chris Nava, two of the better coaches in the NHL of today. I know Nava won the tactical battle, but that doesn't take away from Bruce Cassidy. It's just that the roster wasn't there for Vegas and that they're too banged up. It's crazy to me that this was the first game in which it resulted in a 1-0 overtime scoreline in the playoffs in 4 years.
That is unbelievable considering because, again, you talk about these offenses being so good. Honestly, I thought Vegas gave a very heroic effort. I know it didn't come out to a win, but they got to be proud of the way they battled.
Yeah, even with those banged-up bodies, they got to be proud of themselves. The Oilers, of course, they have unfinished business. Back here at D.C., with 4:45 to play in the second period, Washington, after Carolina's own Staal tried to play it out. 4 shots apiece in this middle frame, so it's been low event in this second period, save for the disallowed Matt Roy goal as Martinook is in a heap right on the crowd here. Still trying to get this puck free. Some bodies trying to go down, and if this puck is not moved, you believe that there's going to be a whistle here eventually. Well, never mind. There's movement on the puck as Chikrin keeps it inside, and this goes towards Freddie.
That was probably the first mistake that I've seen Carolina make in this game. And off that mad scrum, looked like a rugby scrum. Just to throw it out in the middle allowed Chikrin to get a long shot, but luckily Freddie Andersen's glove was on top of things.
It felt like you're watching a football game.
Yes.
And both teams are fighting to grab the loose ball after one team fumbles it.
12 points, 8 goals, and 4 assists in elimination games for Staal. That looks pretty good. They're going to take some changes to get another ozone draw.
That dates back to his time in Pittsburgh. And I know for a fact that even in the most opportune scenarios, that he delivers when it matters here. On the Birdline side, this one fired wide. Roy wanted to hold it, backhander. Mace went towards the slot, bounced down for Hurricane. Sebastian Aho moves up to the right side. Jarvis tried to return it to Aho, but that pass got blocked by Chikrin. He's been doing it all tonight. Puck is sticked away, and Carolina will reset. Aho fires around the near side. Wilson, oh my goodness, did he ever lay the boat there? Walker, he goes to slapper that. Man might have broken his stick of Protas, and yes it did. And Washington will reset as Dubois will feed it backwards. Chikrin will slow down the near side as it takes a bounce, and Carolina gets a whistle.
Man, oh man, Seth Jarvis got taken to the cleaners by number 43. Clean body check, got him right against the wall. That's good work there for Tom Wilson. He's known for that.
Yeah, just a reverse hit as he was trying to gain control of this puck. He lined him up and he sized him up, put him away.
I'll tell you this, in between Brad Marchand and Tom Wilson, there is not an NHL team that wouldn't love to have them on the other team, but if he's on the other side, you hate playing against him.
Yeah, the same could be said about Matthew Tkachuk, and now that Marchand is on the same team as Tkachuk. Oh my goodness. On the near side as Robinson can't hold it, but Orlov can. Here's Walker fires on the far side, collected up by John Carlson as Jesperi Kotkaniemi coaches off the clearing attempt. That's what Carolina is known to do. Backhand to keep it was Walker. He gets tied up by Carlson. Played down by Orlov on his former team. Down the far side. This will be Carlson playing this one right onto the hands of Robinson. Carlson intercepts. And on the near corner, spun back by Ovechkin to Carlson. Long-time teammates of each other. Bounced off Orlov and back onto Walker. And ESPN did mistake Carlson for Ovechkin when they mentioned about longest tenured Capital on the team. Carlson's the longest tenured defenseman on the Capitals. And Ovechkin's the longest tenured Capital, period. Up the middle, this bounce up for Strome as he enters inside. That was a questionable entry there as Ovechkin gets cut off by Alexander and Kochetkov. Alex Ovechkin looks at the far half boards. Wanted to fight this one, but Kochetkov, he gets hauled down. Race for his puck. It'll be won by Logan Stankoven. Logan Stankoven looks at the near corner. He's went up for one-timer. Oh! Stopped by Thompson. The rebound. Loose in front. Thompson down. He somehow keeps it out. Out inside by Kochetkov. As he looks at the left point. Sets up right in front for Paul. Paul looks back. Curling drag move. Makes his way in front. Fires it. And that bounced up. Paul sells it down. All for Stankoven again. One-timer to Kochetkov. Stopped by Thompson. Who is taking his most action here at the late stage of the second period. Cross-ice pass from Gostisbehere to Kochetkov. Fired wide intentionally. Collected up behind the net by Stankoven. Stankoven spins around Sandin. Wants to go for Kochetkov. Tight shot. Fended out by Thompson. And Kochetkov looking for his first career NHL goal. He's known for that blazing shot. And that's South Davis. What a move by Gostisbehere. Gostisbehere fires it. Takes a block out of the body. Gostisbehere fights to keep it inside. And a whistle is blown. And Gostisbehere went down. He might got high sticked.
Oh, he definitely got hit right in the legs for Van Riemsdyk. That went for a cheap shot. They were battling alongside, and Van Riemsdyk able to get a piece of the hands as they didn't like that. That was a heck of a bullet there for Nikishin on the other way. He had a clapper from the boy. That was a homing missile. Excellent work for Stankoven to set up that play alongside Hall.
But that was just uncalled for from Van Riemsdyk to slash Gostisbehere like that right after the play. That's just unwarranted for an indication doing a good job at boxing out Alex Ovechkin, even if he paid a price there. And a good hustle from Stankoven to beat out Ovechkin towards the puck. Those legs are necessary to get to the pucks and winning in the hustle battle.
And as you mentioned, alongside TVR, he is indeed going to the box. He made a big blunder against Gostisbehere, so if Carolina can make him pay.
In elimination games like these, you have to keep your emotions in check. There's no need for sloppy penalties like that if you're Van Riemsdyk. Just because it's your former team doesn't mean you get to slash people that way.
No, that was just blatant, right in across the hands. He just was chopping the wood.
And Gostisbehere, who is getting back out there onto the ice, he's walking down for the moment. He's going to sit down in Carolina to the power play. So they'll spend this first portion with Sean Walker as power play quarterback number one. One-timer, and Thompson shut him down.
Yes, he did. I want to mention in the previous sequence and alongside for Logan Stankoven. Look, I know it didn't work out for Mikko Rantanen, but Logan Stankoven is no consolation prize. If we get those multiple picks, he's going to be here for a long time. Hell, his career is just getting started. He's a good player.
He's just a rookie this year. Next year, it's going to be his sophomore year. He's a natural fit on that second line right next to Taylor Hall, where they understand one another. So the short king's doing it all. Seth Jarvis wins this face-off, and it'll go all the way back to Gostisbehere, who finally comes onto the ice after spending the early portion bench him for Sean Walker, who has to rest up his hands after taking that slash from Trevor Van Riemsdyk. It'll be picked up by the Caps as they look to clear it down, which they do. 80 seconds left on the period. If the Kings don't score here on the man advantage, they'll get 19 seconds of carryover power play time to start the third period. Gostisbehere drops back, moving up for the middle. And here's Otto, who walks slowly for Svechnikov. Svechnikov fires around for the far side of the boards, where's Jackson Blake for the right point onto Svechnikov, who looks backwards. A clever! Gostisbehere turned away on a block from Tom Wilson.
That one hurt. That was Wilson off the left side of the skate, maybe in a piece of the body after that. What a warrior selling out for that shot block.
And he gave it all on the line. It bounced off his ankle. Those are the shot blocks that hurt the most.
Yeah, there's no protection down there for the side of the skate plate. So Tom Wilson probably going to be thinking about that one as we're getting very close to the third period.
We see players take shot blocks to the skates, and one of the most notable instances being Gregory Campbell went on the penalty kill for the Boston Bruins. They stayed out there on the ice, being part of that integral penalty kill. And finally, when the Bruins cleared it down, he finally got to the benches as you address that ankle injury that he suffered as part of that shot block. That got to hurt for him at that time.
Yeah, that's the price you have to pay in order to win games like these. I wonder if we're having an issue here with the score clock. I think we'll be taking an extra few seconds, it looks like.
So, Gord Dwyer is taking a look at the shot at the clock and the power play clock, game clock, power play clock, to make sure that both are correct. So he's checking on in-game officials here at Capital One Arena to correct everything and make sure everyone is on board. They have just made everything correct. They put it at 56 seconds, 0 ticks. Staal and Aho again with 75 seconds on the man advantage. So everything's correct. And on the puck drop, it is a broken stick. Carolina grabs it. They drive it back to Jarvis, who drives around. Jackson blinks about his stick, so Carolina played 4-on-4 for the moment. Back down low is Jarvis. He gets boxed out. And Washington trying to take advantage here of the broken stick. Now instead, shoot this one down to the near side of the ice. With Freddie Andersen playing this one behind for Shayne Gostisbehere. Gostisbehere waits, and he'll drop it back up for the middle as they go tape to tape as Otto moves it over. We'll slash this one around to Jarvis and then Gostisbehere. Gostisbehere around for Svechnikov. And there was a stick on the way with Wilson on that pass for Gostisbehere, who gets the pass right back. And this set up pass towards the right side. Carolina trying to shoot it here. Pass down low. This doesn't work. Onto the far corners. Washington's all over this one. One last screen attempt doesn't work either. Here's one last attempt from Jarvis. And he beat the buzzer, but he was stopped by Thompson nonetheless. Scoreless after 2, as Matt Roy's goal was the only one that was on the shot boards, but it got wiped away on the offside. Carolina has chances here to have 19 seconds of carryover power play time to start the third.
Oh my goodness, that shot from Jarvis hit the top of the bar and rolled out as we end the second period. That had Logan Thompson be dead to rights. I don't know if it crossed the goal line. We got to take another look at this now, Alec. That might be, is that in?
Wait, we have to take another look at this one. The Carolinas look to celebrate for a moment. We need to take a look from the overhead. That puck was in and out in a hurry, but both teams are leaving the benches except for Logan Thompson. They cut away to the NHL on TNT studio. I don't think we're getting a second look at this one. I don't think this completely crossed the goal line. We are tied at 1 after 2.
Okay, gotcha. Because I looked at that. It bounces off the top of the crossbar, does not cross the bottom part of the red. It was rolling end over end and stayed on. It came that close.
It's just so close to breaking even. Ooh.
Okay, so this game, infinitely better than what we got yesterday, from the Leafs anyway. The Golden Knights and Oilers game was chef's kiss. I mean, wow.
That really was one of the better games that we had in the postseason. I don't know, and I'm not saying you're saying this either. If anything beats Colorado and Dallas in that game 7 as far as the Rantanen hats and things like that, but that Vegas-Edmonton game, as you said, and we saw the other day, it's right up there.
Yes. Defensive masterclass between both teams. Just the one goal given up was a defensive masterclass, not only by the defense led by Shea Theodore, but also by the defense led by Evan Bouchard and Jake Wallen.
Yeah, I'm more impressed every time I watch Edmonton, especially over the last year when we covered the Stanley Cup Finals together, Alec, that I have to always remind myself that the Oilers are legit, that D-Corps is legit, regardless of what pieces that they put together. Hopefully at some point they can get Matthias Ekholm back. I don't have the word as far as the longevity of that injury. I'm going to go ahead and flip on the Nuggets and the Thunder here while we're in the middle of our intermission. We'll give you some updates there. But the Oilers, hopefully they can get in back soon because they look pretty good. I mean, in that anticipation level in between Dallas and what I think it's going to be, unless the Jets have something to say about it. But in between Edmonton and Dallas, my anticipation on a 10 is probably about a 9.5.
Yeah, that's the general consensus is for the Oilers. That no matter what questions they face, they are a team that's full of playoff risers. They're a team that no matter what questions surround their depth, defense, or goaltending, all of them are playoff risers and can rise to the occasion.
And what do you make of all that stuff in the offseason with Draisaitl and McDavid? Look, we saw it in between the 3-0 Florida. We thought they had it. Edmonton comes all the way back. You saw the videos for Connor McDavid saying that it's not good enough. You know it had to sit with them all year. They want to be able to get back to this point. You think you're going to get the same matchup in between Ottinger and Skinner. Edmonton looks like they're on a mission. Dallas looks like they're unbeatable. That's why my anticipation is pretty much at an all-time high. I would have to imagine that series goes at least 6.
At least. And we would not have it out of the equation if it goes the full distance, because a team that has McDavid, Draisaitl, Hyman, Nugent-Hopkins, and Bouchard can easily push any series to a 7-game series against the mightiest of opponents.
Let me ask you this. Again, this is just spitballing here as far as we got in the nightcap. But Dallas up 3-1. Winnipeg at least gets to go back home, where Connor Hellebuck is much, much better. I know Anson Carter answered this question a little bit to Paul Bissonnette, but I want to ask you, Al, get your opinion, because I trust it a lot more, to be honest with you. Does Connor Hellebuck have to outplay Jake Ottinger for Winnipeg to win this game? Because they say no, but I say yes.
Well, they may be saying no, but I do agree with you by saying yes here. He needs to go back to what was working in Game 2, because that was the Connor Hellebuck that we know throughout the regular season, that we know can step up in the biggest moments. We remember how he was in the Four Nations face-off where he gave up 2 goals in the round robin in total. Sure, he played 2 games, but there are questions about who is going to start for Team USA in the Olympics. As of right now, I'm not going to jump the gun saying Ottinger over Hellebuck, but with the way that they're playing, they are giving impressions that if Ottinger is going to get the starting gig over Hellebuck, I say calm down here.
Yeah, you still have to wonder, because when you think about the Four Nations, at least, Alec, Connor Hellebuck played very, very well. It was just a blown assignment by the team that left McDavid all alone to be able to get that game winner. Otherwise, Connor Hellebuck honestly looked very, very comfortable.
Yeah, he looked very comfortable over the slide. He had all day to shoot that puck once he got the feed from Mitch Marner at the far corner. That's your guy that you have to defend, Austin Matthews.
Yes.
I know he's one of the top defensive forwards in the league, but you don't stray away from your assignment because you want to break up the puck. I feel that Matthews got too overcommitted to playing man-on-man on Marner. That left McDavid on an island to shoot that puck.
Yes, it did. I know I watched, and I'm sure you gentlemen watched, because I did post it after my article was done when Dangle threw his video out there. It's about $13 million a year for Austin Matthews. I know these guys face so much criticism, and Austin Matthews does a lot of things well, but that was not a play that I'd like to see. I know it's team defense, but you have to make sure you're on top of McDavid. And the same thing we always like to say for Connor Hellebuck. Look, he's had some really bad games, especially on the road. And it all comes down to structure. But when you don't have structure and you're a netminder, you're not going to save anything either.
I think I told you guys. I know I told Alex. After the Jets won against the Blues, the Jets were going to lose in the second round. And I knew this because of how badly they lost whenever they went to St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
Let me remind everyone, they didn't just lose those games. The Blues comfortably blew them out. Game after, I guarantee you, all 4 home games at the Enterprise Center, the Blues are in the second. Well, no. I mean, all 4 games at the Enterprise Center, the Blues are the best team in the league, and, we're not talking about that. But in every single game in the Enterprise Center, the Jets have, in all, 1 period where they threatened. And after that, they were blown out completely. They would barely beat the Blues at home. And I knew, after that, they would not survive Dallas. Because Hellebuck is, Hellebuck is James Harden. He does not perform in the playoffs. I mean,
it's gotten to be a few years now, and the numbers have been so exorbitantly bad. You're talking about a home and road split, Alec, in between maybe the 115, 120 goals against to about 6, 7, 780 save percentage in comparison to maybe like a 930. I'm not sure how it gets so bad, and I think a lot of that is on Hellebuck, and I'm not going to disagree with Ian at all, because I do think 95% of it pretty much rests on him. But I will say the Jets don't look very comfortable on the road. They don't seem to play their road game, and maybe it is because once Hellebuck gives up a couple, it's just they feel like the game's over.
That's how it feels like. And when they give up a couple, it feels like that gets the rhythm out of it. They're good at home. That's for certain. But on the road, whole different story. You know how they won in the first round? Well, here's their goal differential after beating the Blues in the first round. They won that series with a -6 goal differential.
That speaks right into Ian's point in the mix of how much the Blues housed them, because they look like an absolute tornado. They couldn't be stopped, and I'll agree with Ian completely in the mix. If you played all those games and the Blues had home ice advantage throughout, they'd be playing. I'll also agree with Ian in the mix of I think the Blues probably get a couple of games. I won't say that they're going to beat Dallas because I think Dallas has been a train. I've been on the record as far as my Stanley Cup Finals picks completely wrong. Again, I got those in between the Bolts and the Avalanche, but I did say whoever wins on the opposite side of that bracket's going to the Cup Finals. Hey, those two teams are still alive, and the Cats and the Stars. I don't see who beats them. I don't know if I should say it's disappointing for Shovel-Dayov's squad as far as the GM for the Jets because they've been retooling and they've been such a good regular season team. But you're right, something just doesn't click when they get in the postseason, and I'm not sure what they change. Hell, I made the joke, try to get a playoff starter and a regular season starter because you know that Connor Hellebuck's got that locked in, but he makes too much money otherwise for that to actually work.
I gotta be honest, John. I think he was with New Jersey, but a good second option for them would probably have been Jake Allen.
Jake Allen has been quite good considering all things.
Yeah, and Jake Allen has been in the playoffs. He's won a couple of playoff series. He won a couple of playoff series with the Blues. Was the backup for Bennington. Had to step in a few times when Bennington just didn't have it. Played well, and here's the thing that's going to that's killing Winnipeg right now. They made it once to the Western Conference Finals. They lost to an expansion team. The next year they make it back. They face the Blues, have a lead in nearly every game. Blow said leads in nearly every game. And then after that, it's been. Now, we talked about the Boston Bruins penchant for choking, but the Jets, at least, the Bruins have choked in the finals. The Jets have never made it. And I don't know how long the city and ownership is is going to put up with it before they say bye.
Because it's their second go-around, correct? And I would say, at least for the first round against St. Louis, they really needed to win that if you're thinking about them possibly not being there. If they continue to lose in the first round or have not have success as you talk about, they could be in trouble.
Yeah. That which means that first round series victory for the Jets, that's the type of series victory that saves a franchise. Not only are you doing it with declining attendance rates, but also a declining Canadian dollar, and conditions over Winnipeg aren't exactly ideal. Oh, and I know it gets cold, but what Canadian city doesn't get cold in the winter time? The Jets airport isn't exactly that big either.
No, it's not. And you have to think about everything else as far as your Canadian franchises. I know Calgary hasn't been able to be in the mix because they're in the mix of a rebuild. Hell, I would almost say that they're in a better state than some of the other Canadian franchises.
Well, at the very least, yeah, we can comfortably say that the Flames are in a better state than the Canucks right now. And I know it because we have no idea what the Canucks are doing in these days. Well, that's no shade to the new hiring Adam Foote, but there's just too much question marks around him. Quinn Hughes this, Brock Besser that.
Yeah, and at least I would say for the Flames, there's hope. I know the Jets are in the playoff side of it and they're trying to fight for their lives against the Stars, but I would think maybe, I will say this, in between 2 or 3 years, I'd probably rather be the Flames than be the Jets. I know it sounds like a lot right now for me to say that, but I think their future is probably brighter, all things considered. I don't think the Jets are a bad team, but a lot of it does rest on Hellebuck, fair or unfair, and that way that the road game is played, as we talked about. So there's a lot for them to do. Before we get into this third period, I do want to give you a reset here. So the shot board, talk about some of the things being low event. It's 16-9 as that shot in toward the end hit the post from Jarvis and stayed out. Hits are 30-33. Caps do have the edge there, but the faceoffs again, that's been a beatdown. 26-10 there for the Canes. In the mix of the penalties, both teams are 0 for 2 on the power play. Giveaways about even, 12-10. Takeaways only 2-2 because you can't really have space on the ice to really give the puck away. And all we really have is Jordan Staal in the first with Martinook at 9:38 and Anthony Beauvillier, his second off that bounce off the left side of the mesh and a 5-hole goal in between Freddie Andersen. But that's it and that's all, as we're going to get settled here pretty quickly for the start of the third period.
So far, it's been low event. As you mentioned, low event. Just the hits keep on coming. And Carolina, still with that 19-second power play time because of the carryover. We did see some of that warm-up routine from Connor Hellebuck with the eyes. Of course, that has been well documented.
Yeah, they also put that on the series of unfortunate events when they showed Hellebuck's eyes, which I thought was pretty cold.
Oh, that was cool.
So I do, before we get back into this, I do want to, give a shout out to a player that maybe hasn't seen a lot of playing time. Actually, I think he's seen quite a bit of playing time. What am I talking about? Goalie. Actually, a few goalies. Goalie Calvin Picker.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I bring up his name? Because the last time we heard about Calvin Picker, he was a casualty in the expansion draft for Vegas, and he has found a way to have a hobby bias type arc, redemption arc, and helped carry the Oilers to this point.
It's not been a long career for the guy that once started as, I think, a member of the Colorado Avalanche a very long time ago, but it's been a pretty good one, Ian, to your point. And you know what, honestly, to be able to play games in the NHL and have success, stands on his own, I think Calvin Pickard should feel quite proud.
He should. And what to talk about, what we noted about him getting his team to the second round of this postseason with not exactly stellar play, but good enough play to keep them in games. And while he was all right, soon enough, the Oilers are going to have to turn to Stuart Skinner, and this was the time. But that was not of any consequence to Pickard because he was hurt in Game 2. But when Skinner stepped in, it was rough at first, but he locked in the last 2 games. I know we're going to see playoff Stuart Skinner again in the Western Conference Final, but there might, given a sample size here in these 3 games, there might be a good chance.
Yeah, you're right. Dallas is definitely going to make him work, but I'll make this point especially. I know we all both understand this. In the mix of Edmonton, Edmonton's probably one of the very few teams that we have left in the postseason. I'll even take it to all 16 from when we started that actually have 2 goaltenders that they actually can rely on in the postseason.
It's the scary part. You have 2 goaltenders that are serviceable to you, and not exactly of the elite caliber, but both of them are playoff risers.
Yeah, they are. And they've got an experience that's important. They both played in the system. Logan Thompson, again, they're showing it back from the side of the replays. I do not know how he got that stick on it from Logan Stankoven, part of the first. That kept it at 1-1. As we've had all sorts of madness, some slap shots, some good work there for Nikishin on the other end for the bombs as well. It looked like he was shooting that one well over 95 miles an hour. I'm going to take this first half. Alec's going to set the close. And if we get into OT, we can trade off at some point there too, because if this game stays this way, gentlemen, we might have OT on the horizon.
It's been that much low event here, 1-1 after 2 periods, and we can anticipate more low event hockey in this bird.
So let's get set to get things going. 19:50 left to go in this third. John Andrei with you, Alec, Nava, Ian Genji. We'll get set to take it all the way through. Just happy that this game has been so much more competitive. This feels like what a playoff game should. This is wrapped in around the end boards by Sandine and slapped in toward the left side red one. So battle for that 100 feet to get to the next side to get the offense. That's the main thing between these two. And they do not give any sort of quarter, let alone take a mile. This is picked up now off the backhand, shoveled in by Carolina. They're in the midst of some change, so Rod Brind'Amour's squad will do the same. Protas now waiting to break out on the right side of the wing. It's a very elongated breakout here for the Washington Capitals. Try to take this one off across ice. Dubois, wide open, backhand. Oh, it's stopped by Freddie Andersen. I didn't think it was going to work out from 150 feet, but he made the save.
Wow, Freddie Andersen, I thought that he was left dead to rights with Dubois goes inside, and we have a stumble right afterwards. That was a courageous drive for Dubois to go on the outside the Carolina defense and make the move right to the inside of Andersen, who's been playing the postseason of his life. When you think about goaltenders of at least 35 years of age or older who are playing lights-out hockey, we think of the likes of Sergei Bobrovsky or Tim Thomas in that 2011 run. Dubois with the drive right by Sean Walker and just under the backhand. And Andersen stuck out the full extension of the left pad to keep it out. Wow.
Yes, he did, Alec. And I give full marks on the other side for that incredible save for Andersen. John Carlson's pass connected from 150 feet. That was a sauce pass and a gift. And now we got another development. It looks like Washington going to the power play. Martinook just cleaned out Wilson.
Oh, I just looked at this one. I think this is going to be 2 minutes for charging, but that was an absolute walloping from Martinook on Wilson. You know what it takes about playing one style of game. Sometimes it's all's well that ends well.
That was a runaway train of a hit there for Martinook. He's going to get that charge. This will put Washington in the power play. Opportunity now for Ovechkin. Shovel in the corners. So charge is indeed the call. And now Carolina, short-handed. Staal trying to windmill past the defense. He gets cut off right at the right side red line as it's Strome. 0 for 2 with a shot on goal on the power play. But Carolina really, on Washington's power plays, had more of the dangerous chances. What do you say of that as McMichael throws it around the end board? Slavin takes a hit. It's near the right side dot. Drop the Chychrun. And through the traffic, that just missed the left post. Freddie Andersen never saw it. Ovechkin now lost it. Chychrun trying to get back up to the races. This will be sent back around for Jarvis. He wins the battle. It's puck possession. Throws it directly back. So Carolina can go ahead and take a little bit of an abbreviated breath. And that pass, Miss Brent Burns, will just play it across the leg and then send it down length of the ice. So 55 seconds left to go on the third man advantage here for Washington. Just 2 aside up to this point. as it's 17:55 left to go in the third. Ovechkin lurking as they're showing him on the TNT side. Carlson cross ice pass Rister. This one blocked by Carolina. Aho got a piece of the stick. It's near the right side dot. Back in behind the end boards. Protas. His pass missed everybody. As it's 30 seconds left to go in Washington. They'll have to recollect there on their power play. Carlson throws it in. Opportunity now off the end boards. Leonard tried to finish his hit. Brent Burns. He will lift this all the way back down the ice. This will be slowed down by the stick of Thompson. Caps now try to take it in the all red at home in the mix of the blue pants. From right to left, Carolina, and the road whites will go from left to right. Brent Burns will watch as this goes toward the right side. Sandin can't hold the line. Another good stick check there. Jarvis gets the steal. Jarvis with a move. And that's saved with the left pad of Logan Thompson. His second opportunity shorthanded. Excellent work there for Seth Jarvis. I got to imagine he's going to be gassed as this is sent back in behind the end boards. Martinook gets back out on the ice. And now Rasmus Sandin will slow it down toward the left side red line as this pass goes a little bit too far for Nick Dowd. Long-time bottom sixer here for the Caps. Taylor Hall in off the pin for Matt Roy as he gets shoved to the left corner. Jarvis then finishes another hit. He's had an excellent third period so far. We're just about 3.5 minutes expired from it. As this is sticked in the lane, Hall gets knocked down. This is kept in at the right side point here for Washington, and now played back by Radish. He'll slow it down for Chikrin. This cross ice pass a little bit too hard. Have to play the Karam. Right in between the middle of the circles as Hall falls down near the player's bench. He looks okay, though. Here's a race for Majapani. Majapani pasted against the inboards, lost the puck. Excellent work for Logan Stankoven. Off the spin and turn. Washington still with it. This is Shovel out in front. Kasperi Kotkaniemi trying to turn on the burners now. As this will work now for Robinson, getting a piece back to Logan Thompson. Almost throws it right to Carolina. They'll intercept toward the left side red line. Work here for Kotkaniemi. Couldn't close it off near the right side red line. And now the Caps will have possession. And off the drop. Get a chance to slow some things down as Chikrin's pass misses it all, but this is not iced. We'll still press on. 15:30 left to go in the third. We're in the middle of a 1-1 game. All of the goal scoring action has been in the first as we finally get a whistle.
That was so close for Washington to find it back in the net on the chance, but Carolina, they've been the more aggressive of the two whenever Washington's on the power play. That's twice that Seth Jarvis was attacking the net. He makes the move, splits the defense past Sandin and Carlson and blows right by him. Tries to go 5-0 on Logan Thompson. A power move to the net by a power attacker.
Absolutely. Excellent shift for him. Again, Rod Brind'Amour, I don't care what coach it is. You throw that out there and you make those types of moves on the penalty kill, that just gives me the supreme confidence, Alec. I could throw Jarvis on any line and he'd succeed.
Yes, indeed, John. You throw him up at the top 9, he succeeded at all 3-4 lines on the top 9. First line, second line, third line. He can be successful anywhere.
Freddie Andersen, 3-1, 124, 934 save percentage in this postseason. Another opportunity now. And off the backhand, centered out in front dangerously, doesn't end in Carolina 6. Long shot for Burns. Missed it all. He air-mailed it. He was going for the top left corner as the stick gets knocked out of the hand of one of the Caps. That was Carlson trying to get in this post toward the left side. As this is Martinook, pinned against the corner. Dowd tried to get it out. It was a centering feed that Washington almost paid their own price on. They turned it right over in front. And now this will be shoveled out. Spencer Carbery's squad take a change. Brent Burns will make the outstretched pass as this gets knocked away. On the one side, Will Carrier. Wilson now shoveled across ice from left to right. This will be stick chopped back into Washington zone. 14:25 left to go on the third. Shot board is just 18-11. That speaks to the battle of this ice. Protas throwing the corner now for PLD, number 80, trying to ride off that right wall. Work on his forehand. Turnaround shot bites one of the Hurricanes and Dmitry Orlov. It bounces off his skate again. Now toward the left dot. Aho trying to get this one out now as Wilson was spinning to keep it in. Couldn't do so. Right up the gut, the Caps logo knocked away from Stankoven. As this will be sent away now for Aho. Try to turn around now for Orlov. Quick shovel off the backhand as PLD pressures. Now being outstretched from 50 feet. There will be a dump in here. Long time look for the Caps as this is picked up here for Alexei. Alexei's pass It's a good one for Strome. Strome. This is a dangerous feed. Freddie Andersen closes it down with a glove. Second effort. He'll hold on to it as there was a crowd above his back. It was Ovechkin flying in.
He made two good stops, and he is continuing to be dialed in off the 3-on-2 rush. Ovechkin ball fell down close to the crease, and that looked to be a car crash right at the front. 3-on-2 rush, and then a rebound chance off Ovechkin's initial shot, and he almost played it directly onto Ovechkin, and he did so, but he bailed himself out.
Yes, he did, because that wrister bounces off the stick. He tried to get a piece of it off the 5-hole. It was a rolling puck. Ovechkin able to get there off the second time, as you mentioned, rolls over Andersen, falls down, but he falls on it, holds the puck. We'll take a break. 13:34 in the third. Dare I say, Alec, this third period starting to open up at least a little bit.
It is. This third period is starting to have the bank open just slightly, and between these two, it showcases the war of attrition between these two defenses that are wearing each other out. Both goaltenders haven't had to do a lot, but they've been excellent.
Yeah, they have been. Again, Freddie Andersen, 12 of 13. Logan Thompson, 17 of 18. Look, no matter what happens in this series for Logan Thompson, should Carolina advance, again, one more time, Alec, I've got to give him his flowers, because I know he had to choose between Adin Hill and Logan Thompson. Maybe it's possible they couldn't afford Logan Thompson. But really, whether it was a Henderson Silver Knight, part of the Vegas Golden Knights, or now with the Washington Capitals, Logan Thompson's been good as soon as he stepped foot in the NHL.
As soon as he stepped foot, he's been lights out, whether it be initially serving as the backup to Lauren Brossois when Robin Leonard went down in 2022. Thompson was a revelation once he stepped onto the league, and he's showing himself that he is worthy of being a starter. His first taste of postseason action was last year. He played the first 4 games of that Dallas-Vegas series, and he was solid.
Yes, he was. We're starting to see some of the boys in the suits come through the doors. You had Connor Hellebuck, Tyler Seguin with Jamie Benn. Tyler Seguin has been a Stanley Cup champion alongside with the Boston Bruins. I would like to see him get a chance to do it again because I've always liked his game. I mean, it wasn't that long ago, Alec. He just come back through injury, and he's already made some good strides with the Stars.
And the comeback was completed when he scored an overtime winner in Game 3 against Colorado. That's a moment that you'll never forget. Shooting percentage in the regular season for the Caps, 12.6%. This series, 7.8%.
That is ghastly, but it does speak to the defense, as you mentioned, and alongside with the Carolina Hurricanes that make life difficult for everyone. Make no mistake about it. Here's an outstretched pass. Not a bad one, as Martinook. He gets all spun around, probably a little bit with a stick, but no call. That looked a lot worse than it actually was. 13-15 left to go in this third. I'll get set to hand it over to Alec here in a moment. Jacob Chychrun off the wrister. Easy save. Freddie Andersen near the right post.
That was one of the easiest saves that he had to take care of. And he tried to open up space on the top right circle. There wasn't a lot there. Nobody was in front to take away the eyes.
So, Alec, I'm going to throw it to you like this. You're going to take up this back half of the third, but do you mind also taking the first half of the OT? Because I want to give you a good chance to close. If we do get extended, we'll just keep switching off.
Yeah, like we always do, the back and forth. Yes, it's only fair.
Yeah, I figure we should do that because I have an inkling that this game might be longer than one OT if this keeps up. So we're going to need to keep ourselves fresh. I'm looking forward to it, though, as Seth Jarvis back in behind the inboards. This will be slow back down off the slap shot. Missed high again for Brent Burns. He's really eyeing that top left corner, but he's air-milling it every time he gets it. He's just got to shoot it low in front of the traffic. Here's an opportunity off the back end. Good stick chop here for the Carolina defense. They get their back end reinforcements. 12:40 left to go in the third as this gets knocked away. Kept in the zone, fired at the net, and this one bounces. Where is it? It's near the left side red line. Spin and turn now for Svechnikov. I haven't called his name very often. Carolina depends on his goal scoring. I believe he's got 7 in the postseason already. Protas is too far for him. 12:15 left to go in the third. It's a battle for the puck right now. It's another scrum, looking like rugby. Captain Rasmus Sandin, no. Second effort can't hold. And off the stick blade. Sandin on his back skate. Start this again from right to left. That allowed the forwards to change. as they give him the red line. They shouldn't. This will be blown dead. He didn't make it. It stopped at 12 minutes.
Yeah, he didn't make it all the way. No matter how hard Andrew Mangiapane was skating all the way, he's talking to the officials that I shot it across the red line. There's no argument. He shot it behind the red line.
Yeah.
It didn't make it all the way.
Connor McMichael, get a chance to look at that now. One of the other Hershey Bears that you see there. You do have some mix from goaltending time for Hunter Shepard. Again, we're not going to see him because he's going to be playing alongside with the Hershey Bears, who's probably still active. I know the Griffins aren't anymore. They got eliminated. As this is sent the other way off a rolling puck. Stankoven now try to pick this one up. We'll just shovel it in. Here's a look for Roslovic and alongside for Hall. As this is played in off the right side inboards, and Carolina does not pinch. They'll like to give Washington a chance to break out of their own end. Mangiapane, spin and turn. Able to gain the corner. 11:25 left to go in this third. It's still 1-1. That's the way we've stayed from the first, and this is a nip and tuck type of game. Whoever gives up the most of that space for one chance, it might be enough. It's not a good turnover here. Backhand, good save, Freddie Andersen. Rebound, Mangiapane. And that one goes in the corner as Mangiapane gets wiped out. McMichael tries to let it go. But Carolina right there. Roslovic cleans up the garbage. This gets sent back down to TVR. 11 minutes left to go in the third. 20 shot blocks in the latest might have kept this at a 1-1 game. Look for the elongated breakout again. Carlson tried to go 200 feet. This one actually hits Andersen, so that's not going to be iced. Ovechkin plays it with the stick as this gets sent back down for Strome. Putting around the inboards here for Freddie. Slows it down. 10:40 left to go in this third, in this 1-1 game. Logan Thompson, not sure of himself there on that clear. Rolling puck, picked up here by Beauvillier. He's got one. Backhanded opportunity for Freddie Andersen. He'll make the save, and amongst the scrum, I'll hand it to you, Mr. Nava.
We're seeing the most of Freddie Andersen in this action in these latest few minutes. This is the best that we've seen the Washington Capitals since early in that second period when they had the disallowed goal. They're putting pucks towards the net and getting zone looks, and that rebound chance from Alex Ovechkin as Andersen gave it back to him might have energized this team. It is maybe just what they needed.
And absolutely, because you look at that previous sequence there for Gostisbehere, Alec, that almost looked like the Mitch Marner pass that turned into the goal for Jesper Boquist. That's not a good giveaway there, but Freddie Andersen bells out his team big time.
Yeah, not a good pass to make. Just go for the simpler plays. Something less fancy would work here in these situations. Gostisbehere needs to be reminded of that. I'm sure Craig Berube somewhere needs to show this film to Mitch Marters and tell him something simpler needs to work.
So Alec's going to get set here now to take this next set of 20 through the extended OT should we need it. I will close out the rest of it. You get set, good sir.
Off the face-off, Washington for rare face-off win. Cross-ice pass, deep left shot, and that one stopped by Andersen. A rebound fought out by Andersen. There might have been a block in the way there. Carey wants to place behind for Slavin does. Burns leads the way up the near side. They'll be collected center ice by Carey for Staal. Carey goes down. Staal shot blocked off a stick. And it'll go around to the right point where it's Burns. Tried the center one. And that one went up high and out.
9:59. We're past the halfway point of the third now, and we really are in the territory, Alec. Next goal's going to win. I'm going to say it to you. I think it's going to be a 2-1 final. I don't think anyone's going to score here in the third, or if they do, it's going to be next goal wins.
Yeah, by the way that this game is going, we're seeing this realistically as a 2-1 final score, unless if there is an empty netter, and a goal to score the regulation here for either one of these two teams. If there's going to be a 3-1 final, the third goal is going to be an empty net goal.
We'll give you the reset here for the Nuggets and the Thunder. Depending on how long our game goes, that one might be done first. As this is picked up now for Jamal Murray, who's got 11 points and a +10. He leads it all. I'm looking on the usual Jokic watch. 3 of 4, efficient with 6 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. Leading scorer here for the Thunder, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with a quick 6 in 13 minutes of action. He's 2 of 4 shooting, but most notably, you don't normally see him miss this many already. He's 2 of 4 at the line.
You don't see this is from him. That's uncharacteristic of Shayne Alexander to already miss 2 free throws. I know people love to complain about free throws, but it's always about making your shots that matter the most here. Already missing 2 of them, we cannot imagine this already. They're 3 for 16 from the line as well. And Jalen Williams with a Y, he has as many points as SGA.
Yeah, again, that's something that we usually wouldn't see. And again, the Thunder are a pretty good free throw shooting team regardless. And also, by the way, just a quick MLB update. The Twins' win streak has reached 11. They sweep the Oilers, who fall to 15 and 27. Ouch.
Oof. As Capitals fans, they're unleashing the fury here. That's what they love to do. In tight games in the third period, you know how teams, they have traditions here in the third period that they would get the crowd pumped up, such as when the Alec they sing All the Small Things by Blink-182, or when the Steelers they sing Renegade by Styx. Here's the faceoff that's won by Washington, but Carolina holds his own. Sebastian moves around through the far corner. Wants to set up to the left point. Slavin fakes it, now takes it. A rebound swept wide, and right onto the stick of Svechnikov. Nice shot. That was spot on by Thompson, and the Cavs will move it up. As there was a chop at the puck on Dubois from Burns. 40 years old now. Dubois holds it for the left circle, all the way back out to the right point. He shot, and that one made its way to Freddie, who caught it.
Long chance in the previous sequence. Actually bounced, I think, off of Dubois, which Logan Thompson had to initiate with the stick. And there was another battle for Jarvis. Boy, oh boy, Alec, he's had such an excellent game as he almost beat everybody to the puck inside the blue paint.
If Rasmus Sandin did not get a stick onto Jarvis' stick, that puck's in.
Yeah, it speaks to how good as everything has been. And Rasmus Sandin, another one of those guys that Washington depends on.
Shot fired wide out the faceoff as Gostisbehere backhands this one out onto center, collected by Carolina. A very good puck possession team. How much puck possession are they going to have here in the latter half of the third period? Here it is, right behind onto the far corner. And this is dug deep by Jordan Staal, William Carey. Driven up on the backhand. Martinook lost it. Staal helps him out. Here is Orlov. Slap pass on the left circle. Pass right in front is blocked off for Staal. The third lies the only goal here in this game for Carolina. Mobility waits here. He has the only goal for Washington, unassisted. Set back deep as the Caps make a line change, and Orlov holds up. And he will wait for his teammates to go up front. Fed to the right side for Sean Walker. Right around to the far corner, where it's collected up by the Caps. And it cannot be held in by Carolina along the Capitol bench as one of the Canes gets shoved down. Right back onto the left side for Alexei. He wakes up and loads up, fired wide of Andersen on the dump it. The Cation gets tied up on the far corner. Taylor Hall tried to play it and pry free and does. Jack Roslovic tied up and sped up front for him. It was Logan Stankoven who got this one out. Thompson placed it to the near half for Stankoven. Ties up his man. Dow tried to chop it free. All the penalty box doors. Trying to dig it was Kochetkov, and getting it there was Svechnikov, or rather a ball, to backhand it deep. Number 2 and number 3 in the 2018 draft, right behind Rasmus Sandin. It's crazy to think that Svechnikov and Kochetkov are now teammates. Up the near side, takes a wacky bounce back onto the cap zone. Collected by Alexei. Insert into the lineup because of the season-ending injuries to Martin Fairmari and subsequent surgery. Pass too far for Connor McMichael, bounced up, and the Canes clear it out. And the Caps look to get this one as Brian Leonard, the rookie, off the far side. That shot blocked it away by Andersen. And here's a 3-on-2 the other way for the Canes. The fourth line, Robinson. Backhand and deep. Robinson can't get his stick onto the puck. Jackson Blake holds his own to the far corner. He is tied up. Robinson trying to help him out. Sandin tried to pry free. Blake takes it away. Blake wants to go to the point for Orlov. It does. Orlov, he tried. That went up a block and it's out into the mesh.
Battle for the puck. It's all in the middle of the dots. It's just a fever pitch from between the 5 and 5 on the ice. No space for anything off those slap shots. Shot board now, we can say this is at least even at 18 apiece, and so is the score, 1-1.
And finally, we're all caught up on the shot board. This reminds me of when Toronto and Ottawa were wearing each other out in the first round series of the Battle of Ontario.
It really does. This has been an excellent game. It's how playoff games really should be played, Alec.
Yes, indeed, John. Race for the puck as Washington beats out Gostisbehere to the puck, but Gostisbehere gets there anyway. Backhands into center, collected by Jarvis, and around for Svechnikov. Svechnikov driven into the near corner and gives it away to Protas. Protas moves up for the far side. Svechnikov back checks back to make sure that there is no lane for the Caps to maneuver inside. And Svechnikov gets jostled up the puck. Jarvis knows to stick in the lane, and this goes back for Gostisbehere. Retreats back. Gostisbehere can't get it clear. Protas keeps this inside. Back down low as Strome handles this one, comes back out to the right side for Protas. Protas swinging a miss onto Freddie, out inside by Sandin. Strome behind the crease, gets this for Seth and knocked off the puck. Carolina moves up in the middle. 3-on-3 as Otto chips it to the far corner, and first one to the puck for the Canes. All the way back in the right place, Walker, Beauvillier arrives first. Beauvillier spinning away from the approaching Canes. That's William Carrier, and sends it deep. That's going to be icing against Washington.
Really see that they were looking with the Beauvillier and Ovechkin near the right side point, trying to cheat, trying to find some space to finish this off in regulation, but no dice. Carolina gets there first.
Yeah, Alec Ovechkin wanted to take the beat from Beauvillier for the breakout pass. They weren't on the same page, and that pass was a little too far. He has 13 goals, 24 points when facing elimination in his career. That good game 6 and 7 against Tampa are the most famous instances because that time Washington won the Stanley Cup. That was the Eastern Conference Final as that backhander was turned away by Thompson. Swept out and is collected up by Strome. Strome flips this right onto Freddie, but places to the corner. Beauvillier at the near side. Hall gets the free. Taylor Hall gets brought down. And this one juggled up. Staying 5-on-5 as Roslovic put it up. It looked to be Hall. Stankoven tried to get out with him. Spent this to the near corner as Hall rushes in. He has no help. Down. Rushes in. Stankoven too. Matt Roy ties him up. And is freed by Roy. And Washington establishes the counter. 19-18 the shots in favor Carolina in this low event game. Orlov forced him to the far corner as Dubois. Can't play this one anywhere. And off the near side is Logan Stankoven, who re-enters. Stankoven flips this one behind Thompson. Rush towards his puck. Matt Roy goes off his man. But arriving first is Eric Robinson to get this one around. Onto the far corner as Washington want to play this one down. Bounce at center ice. And then back inside is Kochetkov. Kochetkov offside.
And Kotniemi, Robinson, all those guys on the fourth line trying to get a little bit of space, but a stride and a half on in front as we'll take a break. 1 underneath 5 minutes.
4:52 to play in the third. Still even up. No goals since the first period. And the hits 40-38 in favor of Carolina. And you speak of how defense is. Face-offs playing to the advantage of Carolina, 31-16. And Washington is trying to even that one up in the third period. I feel that Spencer Carbery may have some words at the second intermission about face-offs, but the physicality is starting to ramp up.
Yeah, it is. And I think at least for me, at least for the Washington side, they're trying to look more like Carolina and sort of hammer more of these shots on net. Because you notice, as you said, Alec, we talk about this all day between these two teams. There's not going to be a lot of space. You're not going to get these 2-on-1, 3-on-2, odd man rushes the other way. All the defense, they're all lock and key. If you get a good opportunity to shoot, you probably got to take the first available. Sometimes it's not the high percentage look. But once you do that, you got to find a way to get in front of the net and cause some chaos. Because if you don't do that, this game could go on all night.
And those chances could come from anywhere. It could be from sharp angle shots. It could be from distance. It could be on clean looks at the swap. It could be anywhere.
One of those ones that I think about from a couple of games ago, wasn't it Andrei Svechnikov right in off the draw? He just skates in on Logan Thompson and deposits it from the left corner. That was a pretty good one. That was a face-off that wasn't picked up for Washington, and Carolina ended up scoring on it.
Yeah, that was a good chance for Carolina. That's what they would need to be reminded of. And meanwhile, between OKC and Denver, of course, when you speak of the daily Jokic watch, it's a very tight game, and OKC has the lead. But in the last few games, it's all come down to fourth quarter scoring and in the clutch, which OKC has a distinct advantage in these last two games of the series.
I would say this normally for a team that's won 68 games. I don't think that they would even be worried about going to Game 7. but the Denver Nuggets are not a team I want to go Game 7 against.
No, even for the Nuggets winning just one series against a 50-plus win team in the Jokic era, that coming this year against the Clippers. But if they figure it out in a Game 7, this could be a huge momentum and swinger and boost of confidence for the Nuggets. Deliver down deep off the dump in. 9 free shots on goal this period in favor of Washington, despite Carolina looking like the more dominant team throughout this game. But Washington's starting to find their footing here in this third period. One bounce. That may be all what it takes. Dubois. Upward Chikrin. Jacob Chikrin waits along in the near corner and delivers rink wide. Or, I believe it's Matt Royce. Someone got shoved down. It'll be collected by Dmitry Orlov. I think that's just going to be an icing unless we have a penalty.
No, it is. It's a heavy collision near the right side boards. Icing is what it is. Spencer Carbery, looking at the iPad beside himself, thinks there should have been a penalty, as we all do.
Yeah, we were all wondering at the same time, where's the penalty? It was none called there, and with someone going down, you think that there would be a penalty called that time around. There was absolutely nothing.
This is a much different series. I'm not even just saying as far as the track meet, but it really feels like there's been a lot less penalty calls in Carolina, Washington versus Florida and Toronto.
Yeah, a lot less of that in this series. A lot less penalty calls here between these two teams. They've been playing rather clean games. I don't know what they're doing here, but now we're getting back into the action as Washington wins the faceoff here. That's just a 17 faceoff win for the Caps in comparison to the Canes' 32. Slowly with this is Brent Burns as he fires around for the far side. Collected by Chikrin as bounces up. Chikrin goes down, poking him. He tried to stuff it inside. Keeping it inside is William Carrier as the 4 battle ensues at the far corner. John Carlson's all tied up. And back deep this goes with the Caps picking up. Near corner as they want to get this down deep, which they will be collected by Slavin or Burns. Near side, played by Martinook onto the far corner off the dump in. Sandy tried to play it away, but right to Kane. Right in front, Thompson's all tied up. Dives down low to keep this one out. Won this best stage of the game as the Canes play this one across the ice. Taylor Hall's out there. Jordan Stone trying to get off. And this will make its way for Freddie Andersen, who plays this one behind his cage. Deshaun Walker, now up the middle. As Carolina tried to go for the jugular here and get the game winner. Sankofa gets turned around. Washington picks it up. Mangiapane has it. The former Calgary Flame sends this one inside. Rush for the puck. Gostisbehere falls down. His teammate helps him out. And through the far corner as Ball grabs a hold of it, places one on his backhand around the boards. Chikrin presses in to keep this one inside. 3 minutes to go here, and what has been a deadlock battle. We've seen tight defensive games like we saw last night between Vegas and Edmonton. This appears to be the same case. Near the boards, right between the glass, as Carolina picks it up. No backhand it, but there's nothing there. 5 Canes are back. It's down. Gets bumped hard. Right on time before he gets it up, as Chikrin feels the brunt of pressure from Aho. And up the far boards. This takes a bounce. Recollected by Taylor Radish. Haven't had a chance to say his name a lot for the fourth line side. Orlov right on Beauvillier as Beauvillier gets tied up. Andersen doesn't know where the puck is. It's right behind him. This will go to Jarvis. Jarvis playing on his backhand, getting this one out. This goes past Aho, and Washington will play this one up. With 2:14 across the ice, Ovechkin takes one up, and Andersen another stop. The goaltending has been excellent whenever they got the opportunity to make some saves. Walker up front for Jarvis here on a 3-on-2. He has Svechnikov onto his right. Svechnikov to the trailer. He gets it back and scores! Andrei Svechnikov, sharp angle for his 8th goal in the postseason, and the 8th goal finally answers.
I'm glad that you get a chance to close this because that looked like that might be the game winner. I'm not sure what that hit. As you get a chance to look out now, Walker with the breakout pass. Sets it up here for Jarvis. Svechnikov thinks about a touchback there from Walker. Sharp angle chance from against the boards. He's near the right down, lets it fly. It beats Logan Thompson. Unbelievable.
I don't believe what I just seen. That Andrei Svechnikov from a sharp angle, but Carolina does have a propensity for sharp angle shots. Jaccob Slavin has a few of those in the playoffs. Paul Stastny had one against the Islanders for a series winner. That shot is one and which is not supposed to go in. but somehow it did, and it just went by Logan Thompson for the go-ahead goal with less than 2 minutes to go. Can you believe it?
I can't, Alec. You get set to take it away. It looks like you're going to be ahead of it, but Logan Thompson, they're going to have to pull him out of the crease.
And they must do so with 150 to go as Carolina is pinching. Washington takes it up. Thompson gets the signal, and he'll go to that. So we're 6 on 5. Washington needs a tying goal, but playing from behind has not been a strength of the Capitals. The Canes ice it so they can catch a breather for a while.
So I'm looking at it now, immediately at the head for the replays. Again, this bounces off of the left pad of Thompson. He just shakes his head. I don't blame him. I know we talk about shooting from anywhere, but he was just never able to see it because you can't expect anyone to shoot from there.
Yeah, those 2 goals that he allowed you was caught by surprise. So basically, what more are you supposed to do in those situations if you're Logan Thompson?
You can't do anything, Alec.
No. You can only do so much and stare. So off this icing, Jordan Staal will take this face-off, one of the best face-off men in the NHL, one of the best defensive forwards in the NHL. And this could set the Canes up for a conference finals meeting between either Toronto or the Panthers. Should this run up for the last 1.7 if the result holds up? Ovechkin's tied up. Held in by Colson. Check for plus one. Rebound is swept wide. And it's being held in by Tom Wilson. Right around to the half wall. Checkra can't find anyone. Plus held inside by Carlson. Carlson gets his near corner. Then right behind the net. Dubois tries to get one up. Onto the left side. Wilson holds his own. Carlson jumbles this one around for Checkra. Sends one to the goal. And this one never made its way to the back of the net. Carolina gets it out. And we are playing 6 on 5. They're not changing now. Tom Wilson drives around the net. Wilson will send this one around to the far side. Wilson tied up with 54. Ovechkin as well. Carolina trying to run out the rest of the clock and get the insurance marker. Backhanded and deep, but cannot be cleared as Dubois is held in. Brent Burns right over the glove of Golston and just wide the crease. But precious seconds are being ticked down as the icing is canceled out. Washington will try to get this one back inside. Checker up the middle. Gets cut off. And this will be up ahead. Clear path for Jarvis. Yes, sir! There's the icebreaker.
Fitting for Seth Jarvis. I said he's been far and away my player of the game. This one was an absolute war. A tip save from the point off the wall by Freddie Andersen. He made that stop look easy. Tom Wilson, he gets it taken away by Jaccob Slavin, one of the very best in the business, and it sets it up the other way. Chychrun trying to find it, couldn't do so. What a stick blade takeaway from Martinook, and Jarvis slides into a gaping goal mouth. What a hockey game!
What a game. What a finish to this series. With Tom Wilson getting tied up and put on a headlock by who else, John? Jaccob Slavin.
He's been so good for so many years. Again, it's another big win for Carolina. They earned this. They outworked the Washington Capitals.
They did, but you know what? I will commend the Washington Capitals on this. You put up a fight for many. It would seem like they were a paper tiger, and in some ways they were, but one thing is clear. They held the Carolina Hurricanes machine for as long as they could, but it is inevitable.
Take it out.
Press bonanza on people all over the NHL.
Oh, yes. One last face-off, and it'll be picked up by Washington. A storm surge is coming, and it's headed for either Toronto or Miami, Fort Lauderdale for the second time in 3 years. The Carolina Hurricanes advance to the Eastern Conference Final.
I know this comes as no surprise, Alec, and it's not an enlightening take that I'm about to say, but you've watched it. You covered a lot of these games. I know a second team for you. Reiterate again from what we all saw through an entire 60 in that battle and how hard that they've worked in the systems. The Carolina Hurricanes are a damn good hockey team.
They are. They're one of the best system teams in the NHL. and they're one that we cannot count out at any point, not even at any moment. No matter who they face, no matter who they go up against on the occasion, they rise and play with their heads above their water. And for the Washington Capitals, I applaud you guys. I never thought that this would be ending with a Carolina 5-game series victory, but Washington, whenever they were out there at their home ice, they gave Carolina fits at times. They tested them to their very will. But the Hurricanes, they found a way, and with their defensive structure and with this experienced group, they pulled it out. It was a total team effort all throughout this series. And for the series MVP, I got to tip my hat to Freddie Andersen.
Yeah, there really is no other way to go there. And I want to make sure that we close everything out with a bow on this series because, Alec, as the Canes man resident expert, I really have to ask you this. And I'm going to turn the page here. I'm not being disparaging to Carolina. I want to turn the page completely as we look forward now to the ECF. We're going to be honest with you. At least I'm going to be here. I'm going to be point blank. Carolina's had the easiest road so far. No disrespect to the New Jersey Devils. They were too banged up. They could not make it a series. Washington, as Ian mentioned, and at least for me, I love how they rebuilt on the fly. I give them all the credit in the world for that, but Washington, to me, was not a serious contender. This starts now. I'm not going to assume that Toronto is going to find a way to win the next 2 games. I don't think that's happening. They're going to play the Florida Panthers again, and almost in all likelihood, it'll be Dallas, unless it's Edmonton. The journey starts now for Carolina. Their 2 toughest stretches of games are ahead. What do you think their chances are, Mr. Nava?
I will give Carolina a chance. We're not assuming that we don't expect that the losing streak extends to 16 games,
No.
consecutive losses in the conference finals, because we don't imagine that happening again. You're too talented to lose 12 consecutive games in the conference finals. And you're too talented and too defensively structured to have that happen to you. Florida may be the worst possible matchup that you may draw, but no playoff matchup is ever easy. Carolina may show you that, and even though it may be the easiest matchup and the easiest road to the conference finals on paper, no path to the conference finals is ever easy. New Jersey gave Carolina a test. Washington gave Carolina a test. But here, this is where the true playoffs begin. This is where it's put up or shut up time against what could very likely be up against the reigning defending champions. This is the true test. If you can be able to withstand the machine that is the Florida Panthers, if you're being able to play up to your potential as one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. 2 years ago, you were facing a Cinderella team, but they were no slouches either given the gauntlet that they faced between Boston and Toronto that year. Florida is facing a gauntlet as well between Tampa and Toronto on paper. But Florida dispatched Tampa like it's nothing. They're dispatching Toronto now to shreds, and that's a terrifying thought. But you should not be worried about how they are dispatching them. It's not about the mental game off the ice. It's about the mental game on the ice. You have to win the mental battle and not let the Panthers get under your skin. The Panthers, they are a better team, you can argue at the very least, than what they were last year. You have to watch the tape on how they play. I don't care if the Panthers are the most penalized team in the league. I don't care if the Panthers are the dirtiest team in the league. You cannot let them get under your skin. You have to play your style of game and be sure you're able to get bodies to the net, send people to the net, and get pucks to the net. Play your game. That's all that matters.
Beautifully said, Alec. Again, he was giving me the complete breakdown of what's going to happen in the ECF, and I really appreciate you for that because that's kind of what I was thinking in the back of my mind as well. I would love to see it, and I'm not just saying it as your broadcasting friend and partner and everything else, Alec. I know we're going to be hanging out for a long time, I would imagine, doing this, and I really look forward to it. But I hope that the Hurricanes find a way to figure out something against Florida, who looks like they're going to play, because you're right, they play so damn good. I really think it's going to be hard to go ahead and test through them all the way across, because as you mentioned, as good as Florida is, Carolina puts you through a paper shredder. And if you're going to want to earn it, regardless of how many games it goes, Carolina makes you earn every single stitch of that ice. I'm looking forward to that series. It was so awesome to hear you call a game winner there for your secondary team. And it looks like the date of destiny is going to be set here in a few days. We're going to have some fun with it. The ECF and the WCF is going to be quite good.
Oh, yes, it is. It's going to be a fun Final Four.
Oh, yeah. And at the end of it, and Alec, I am saying this because, number one, you are my broadcast partner, and I think, and even though we haven't met, I'd say we're a close friend. Here's what I'm saying. Get ready, Raleigh. We still have to wait a few days. However, we are now headed to the Eastern Conference Finals. Whether it be those syrup chugging dudes up north, or if it's the guys further down south, understand this. The Brass Bonanza must ring all out through the NHL. And that means we must do something we haven't done for over a decade. That's right. Win 4 games in the Eastern Conference Finals. Oh, hail the Hurricanes.
I'm rooting for you, Alec. I hope it's done well. I'm going to look for this back end of this game. I think we're going to see Dallas, and I think if I have to guess right now, Alec, if the Canes advance, they're going to play the Stars. I don't see the Oilers even getting past it. As much as we talk about the Oilers and as nice as I like to be against them, I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be Stars or bust. We'll see if the Canes get that far as well.
We'll see so. But hopefully, Carolina pulls this out in the Eastern Conference Final.
We'll talk soon. You know what? I was thinking about doing that game tomorrow, but honestly, I don't think I can stomach another Maple Leafs and Panthers game if it ends up like that again. But if it goes to Game 7, I'll definitely cover that.
Oh, if it is a Game 7, bring your popcorn.
All right. Sounds good. We'll talk soon. See you.
See you guys.
That was a pretty good one, and I appreciate you guys joining in. We get another elimination with a chance today between Dallas and Winnipeg. Carolina wins the series in 5 against the Washington Capitals. Again, the Capitals weren't serious for me, but that's just the way that I saw it. And you let me know what you think, because I look at that. Are the Hurricanes the Stanley Cup Finals team in your mind? The one vote says no. We'll see. Probably going to have to get past the Cats as they look to take care of their business tomorrow and have the ECF all be punched. You can figure out about the Western Conference Final today. Winnipeg's got to hold on for dear life. They got to win 3 straight. At least they're at home now, but Jake Ottinger is the truth. We'll see what happens. We'll catch back up with you in a couple days if the Leafs force 7. If not, I'll be back in the booth alongside Alec, Nava, maybe even Cooper Hopkins as we get settled here for the Western Conference Final, at least with Cooper, more on the east side between Alec and both in the West. See you then.